Chapter 114. The ancient desolate mountain range and the forest flew backward. The two figures were as fast as lightning, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. Behind them, Xian Wuyu had a look of disdain on his face as he walked leisurely. Yi Qinghan, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you can't escape from me. Either you become my slave, or you die. His voice turned into a thunderclap that exploded in the sky. A terrifying evil aura enveloped the mountain range. The evil spirit sword was drawn, and its aura was earth-shattering. Yi Qinghan remained calm. He held the 7-foot berserk in his right hand and the saber core in his left. The azure dragon arm shone with a divine light that circulated around his body. His vigorous chi and blood were almost burning. He pushed the ethereal fairy steps to the extreme, but he didn't use the extreme dragon steps. This was his trump card. If he wanted to defeat Xian Wuyu, he had to use this move. Whoosh! The two of them, one chasing the other, sped for an hour, traversing 300 to 400 li before entering a desolate mountain. Yi Qinghan suddenly stopped, turned around with his saber in hand, and stared at Xian Wuyu, who was galloping towards him. "Why aren't you running anymore?" Xian Wuyu stood on an ancient tree with disdain. He tapped the leaves with his toes and flapped his wings lightly as he asked arrogantly, "To deal with you, I don't need to run. Xian Wuyu, today I will show you what true strength is." Yi Qinghan said hoarsely, "This is what I wanted to say to you as well. I will show you what a true evil spirit inheritance is, what a true evil spirit treasure body is." Xian Wuyu hugged his sword, looking indescribably confident. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and stared at Xian Wuyu. The biggest difference now was that Xian Wuyu had the rank 5 vibrating spirit wings and could fly. Without them, Xian Wuyu was only at the first step of the heavenly passage realm. He couldn't fly for long. He just needed to drag it out for a while. Break his wings? Yi Qinghan immediately made up his mind. Holding the saber with both hands, he inserted the core of the saber into the berserker. A domineering and arrogant aura immediately rushed to the clouds. His aura was raised to the extreme. It was as if he had become a different person. He was cold, arrogant, frivolous, and looked down on all living things. Xian Wuyu's pupils shrank, and his indifferent expression suddenly revealed a hint of evil charm. He said in a hoarse voice, "Interesting. It seems that I still underestimated you. This is the fun part. A one-sided slaughter will not give me the pleasure of revenge." The cold wind was cold and gloomy. Both sides' fighting spirits were rising. The auras of unrivaled kings filled the withered valley. They collided in the air, sending sand and rocks flying everywhere. The atmosphere was majestic and majestic. As the wings flapped, the gale became even stronger. The flying sand was not close, and the quicksand within a radius of 5 meters pierced through the void, making the lonely mountain rustle. Yi Qinghan was still accumulating his power. The azure dragon arm was drawn but not released. The berserker emitted a domineering aura. The 5th-grade combat weapon was connected to all the laws in the sky. Above, lightning flashed and thunderclouds rolled, as if to destroy the earth. The berserker had yet to pass the tribulation, and Yi Qinghan was not confident. Therefore, he had to remove the saber core after using it. This time, it would be hard to dodge. After all, killing Xian Wuyu was not something that could be done in a short time. Crack! Yi Qinghan's feet crushed the mountain rocks. His eyes were like torches as he stared at Xian Wuyu. Then he soared into the sky. The berserker's domineering aura shattered the shackles. Berserker god-slaying style. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless beams of cold light converged. It was as if hundreds of saber attacks had erupted in an instant, blasting towards Xian Wuyu from all directions. The sharp saber aura shattered the flying sand and split the lonely mountain. The ancient tree under Xian Wuyu's feet was turned into dust. Humph! A trapped beast putting up a desperate fight. You don't know the meaning of death. Xian Wuyu snorted coldly. His wings shook the sky, and the moon moved. The evil spirit was unsheathed. The sword light destroyed everything in its path, and it struck toward Yi Qinghan's body like lightning. Boom! An ear-piercing sound was deafening, and it made people's hair stand on end. The saber and sword collided. Both were above the 5th grade, and the power was unleashed by a special physique. The aftershock rushed into the galaxy, and the dust on the ground was blown away in all directions, covering the sky and the sun. Extreme Dragon God Steps. After Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu clashed, they suddenly erupted. They used the Extreme Dragon God Steps to temporarily stay in the air. Then, they tore through the mountains and rivers, and turned into a dragon flying in the sky. Instead of retreating, they advanced. With a saber attack, they split the space-time apart and shouted, "Extreme space-piercing style." Xian Wuyu's evil spirit sword art was incomparably sharp, and its speed was extremely fast. In an instant, thousands of swords were unleashed. The sword aura and the saber aura collided. The space-time seemed to be as fragile as rotten wood. It could not withstand a single blow, and it crumbled continuously. The black space-time vortex spewed out a spatial storm, tearing toward the two. Evil spirit sword art. 10,000 spirits rise and fall. Boom, boom, boom. The sword was like a rainbow, and it was as fast as lightning. It directly struck Yi Qinghan's body. The surrounding sword aura broke through the saber aura, and it was unstoppable. Yi Qinghan's eyes exploded with the will to split the sky. He stared at the vibrating spirit wings on Xian Wuyu's back, and he had no intention of retreating. He raised his saber and charged forward. It looked like he was going to fight the evil spirit sword head-on, but his real target was the vibrating spirit wings. Flipping saber style. Break for me. The 7-foot saber had a slight advantage. It changed its style, and there was no feeling of stagnation. It was impossible to dodge. Before Xian Wuyu could attack Yi Qinghan's body, he felt as if his wings had suffered an unbearable impact. His body suddenly tilted, and the evil spirit sword that was aimed at Yi Qinghan's chi slid down and pierced into Yi Qinghan's right leg. Puchi. The evil spirit sword was invincible, and it instantly broke through Yi Qinghan's defense. It was a battle where both sides suffered, and neither was willing to back down. At this moment, they were fighting with their lives on the line. Whoever lost would die. Yi Qinghan's face was ferocious. He felt the evil spirit sword's power rushing towards him, attacking his limbs and bones. His vitality was suppressed, and the savagery in his eyes became even more ferocious. Downward strike. Yi Qinghan's hands trembled slightly, and he used the inch strike technique. Within less than an inch of distance, he exploded with his strongest power, and forcibly cut the vibrating spirit wings. Yi Qinghan's right leg was covered in blood. The evil spirit sword directly pierced through his thigh bone. Xian Wuyu lost control of his body and suffered the most terrifying impact. He could no longer control his wings, and they fell from the sky. The evil spirit sword that had pierced Yi Qinghan's thigh was also brought out. Puffed at Yi Qinghan's essence, blood spurted out like a blood sword. The piercing pain in his soul almost suffocated him. He could no longer maintain the extreme divine dragon steps, and he fell to the lonely mountain with Xian Wuyu. Two silhouettes fell from the sky, but they were not startled. They rolled almost at the same time, trying to reduce the impact force. Their swords and sabers pierced downwards, crashing into the mountain rocks. The lone mountain crumbled, the sand and stones sped away, crashing into the distant mountain. Yi Qinghan knelt on one knee, and the power of the Azure Dragon arm erupted, instantly suppressing the evil spirit sword in his body and sealing the sword wound on his right leg. Blood stopped gushing out, and his face was as pale as paper. Xian Wuyu was not in a good state either. He fell from such a high place, rolled for more than 10 meters, and crashed into one ancient tree after another. His clothes were ragged, and he was in a sorry state. A ferocious light shot out from his eyes, and the evil spirit sword in his hand shot out an even more sinister sword light. Without the 5th grade vibrating spirit wings, I can still kill you. Xian Wuyu gave up on the vibrating spirit wings and said coldly, "Is that so? Without the vibrating spirit wings, I want to see how you can kill me." Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold. He slowly stood up, and the pain from his right leg made his mouth twitch. The Azure Dragon arm erupted, shattering his clothes. His flawless body made the heavens and earth lose their color. Xian Wuyu gripped the evil spirit sword tightly, and the demonic chi on his body grew stronger and stronger. It enveloped the valley and covered the sky, pressing down on Yi Qinghan. The demonic spirit treasure body caused his aura to reach the peak. Demonic light flowed around his body, making him look like a demonic god. The sinister aura suppressed everything in the world. The two of them represented the strongest of the younger generation. Either one of them could instantly kill any expert under the second step of the Grotto Heaven realm. Even Emperor-level experts would find it difficult to resist their explosive power. Only at this moment did Xian Wuyu realize that Yi Qinghan was not as simple as he seemed. Even though he was in a higher realm, he did not have the advantage. After stabbing Yi Qinghan once, he had lost the 5th grade vibrating spirit wings. Your cultivation technique and saber are both above the 5th grade. You are not from Owl Falling Star. Xian Wuyu's lips curled up. He circulated his blood energy to repair the damage from the collision and deliberately asked. Yi Qinghan coldly smiled. Xian Wuyu wanted to delay, but he wanted to. As long as he could recover half of his right leg's injury, it would be hard to say who would win today. When it came to risking his life, he had never feared anyone. That's right, I am not from Owl Falling Star. Yi Qinghan did not hide anything. There was no one within a 100-mile radius. Even if they fought until the heavens fell and the earth cracked, no one would know. Moreover, in today's situation, only one of them could leave alive. If he did not die, then Xian Wuyu would die. Yi Qinghan's blood energy surged and roared. It flowed through his injured body, quickly recovering. His body was like a jewel, flowing with light. The speed of recovery was almost the same as the demonic spirit treasure body. This made Xian Wuyu angry, and he did not want to delay any longer. I will break your Qi in 3 moves, Xian Wuyu shouted. He turned into a sharp sword, reaching the state of man and sword as one. Demonic spirit first style, demonic 8 desolation. Xioj, the tip of his foot crushed the earth, and a sword broke through the air. 100 steps flying sword. In the entire universe, only this sword was left. It was fast to the extreme. Violent attack, Azure Dragon goes to sea. Yi Qinghan gripped his saber with both hands. The saber's hilt was twisted out of shape. A tyrannical aura poured out from the saber, bringing with it a boundless true yuan that turned into an indestructible saber light, sweeping through everything. Roar, with a violent roar, it turned into an Azure Dragon goes to sea, suppressing everything. Bang! The evil spirit sword was indestructible. The 7 feet violent attack could break through the heavens and earth. The two collided, causing the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. The aftermath flattened the valley. Terrifying cracks hundreds of meters long and thousands of feet deep appeared, swallowing everything. Yi Qinghan's Azure Dragon arms were split open, and his body was covered in blood. His figure flew backwards, coughing up blood incessantly. The tip of his foot left a footprint on the ground, and the friction created a monstrous flame that intertwined with his vigorous blood energy. His entire body turned into a flame. The web between Xian Wuyu's thumb and forefinger ruptured. All that was left of his right arm was a bone that extended all the way to his shoulder. His entire body was filled with blood, and his body fell into the distance like a broken kite. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This is impossible. Demonic spirit treasured body. Xian Wuyu unwillingly roared. Demonic chi soared to the heavens as if he had been demonized. His right arm was instantly repaired. A drop of blood essence could regrow flesh and bone. His eyes were filled with madness as he twisted his body and charged towards Yi Qinghan once more. Evil Spirit Sword Art Second Style. Evil Spirit Sword Way suppresses all enemies. Watch space constantly shattered. Man and sword as one, the friction created a monstrous flame that rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Chapter 115. Southwest of Flaming Cloud City, in the sky above the desolate ancient mountain range, a mighty pressure rolled out. Dark clouds covered the vast sky, and dragon-like lightning streaked across the sky, crushing the peaks of the mountain range. Occasionally, a terrifying aura would erupt with a monstrous combat strength, informing the world that an incomparable battle was taking place here. Yi Qinghan transformed into a god of war, shining with golden light. Divine light circulated on his azure dragon arm, urging the roaring of quicksand. The might of the berserk mode was comparable to that of the heaven test. The thunder calamity of a 5th-grade combat weapon made it crazy. It actively released its aura, wanting to become a true 5th-grade combat weapon, showing off the power of a 5th-grade war weapon. Evil Sword Art 2nd Style, Evil Sword Art suppressing all enemies. The evil aura seemed to pour out from the abyss of hell, suppressing everything. It turned into the supreme evil, wanting to destroy the enemy in front of it. A sharp sword appeared in Yi Qinghan's pupils. He raised his blade with both hands, waiting to attack. His body did not change, but his aura was already indomitable. The long blade attracted the thunder calamity. It was fine if it did not move, but once it moved, it would shatter the heaven and earth. Berserk attack, Azure Dragon emerges. His voice was like thunder, shaking the heaven and earth. The blade carried the power of the world, suppressing Xian Wuyu. Even the dark clouds in the sky were shattered. Wah wah wah. Ding-ing-ing. Zhen Yuan poured out, forming an ancient azure dragon. It rolled its 100-meter-long body and suppressed the evil sword art. The supreme aura dissipated almost at the same time, perishing together. The evil aura and the azure dragon aura intertwined, suppressing each other. Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu fiercely clashed. In an instant, they had clashed at least 10 times. The berserk attack left more than 10 gaps, causing sparks to fly everywhere. However, Xian Wuyu was suppressed and kept retreating. Every blade carried more than 1,000,000 pounds of power. Both of their bodies were extremely strong. At this moment, blood and flesh were splattered everywhere. No matter how strong one's special physique was, it would be difficult to resist such an attack. Yi Qinghan's face was ferocious and incomparably brutal. His tyrannical heavy craziness did not back down, pressuring Xian Wuyu to the point that he kept retreating. His footsteps shattered rocks, and his demon spirit treasure body collapsed. His vigorous blood essence was ignited, and he was battered and exhausted. Xian Wuyu's heart turned cold. Yi Qinghan was like a madman when he fought. The power that erupted from his body was not something that people of the same level could contend against. A thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Yi Qinghan was not at the bitter sea stage. As a demon spirit treasure body, how could Xian Wuyu be willing to be suppressed by Yi Qinghan? His aura grew stronger and stronger, his true essence surging, but he still couldn't reverse the situation. Although the evil nether sword in his hand hadn't broken, allowing him to narrowly defeat 7-foot crazed, his body had already been completely shattered. His flesh and blood were mangled, and he wasn't much worse off than Yi Qinghan. The aura of invincibility filled the air. Neither of them was willing to back down. Neither of them admitted defeat. They could only kill. They killed until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Bloody mists sprayed everywhere. The last one standing would be the victor. Whirlwind slash. Yi Qinghan's body spun, violently breaking through space, and charged towards Xian Wuyu. Break! Xian Wuyu stomped on the ground, his sword piercing the blade. Boom! The evil spirit sword's momentum was unstoppable, and it just so happened to collide with the heavy wild saber's gap. The heavy wild saber split into two, and the saber's blade shot into the lone mountain, shattering it. Only half of the saber's hilt remained in Yi Qinghan's hand, showing just how tragic this attack was. The evil nether sword was almost bent, flying out of Xian Wuyu's hand. It sped past Yi Qinghan, piercing into a distant mountain peak. Yi Qinghan retreated several steps, looking at the blade in his hand. He directly placed it into his Qiankuan ring. The azure dragon arm was twisted, blood flowing non-stop, and a crack had appeared on his golden battle bones. Xian Wuyu flew back dozens of meters, crashing into a large tree. He knelt on the ground with one knee. His entire right arm was covered in white bones, without a trace of flesh. Ah, Yi Qinghan, you have exceeded my expectations. To be able to force me to this point, you are worthy of standing proudly among the younger generation. Xian Wuyu's left hand was surging with demonic energy, pressing on his right arm. His flesh was regenerated like a newborn baby, but it was even tougher. Yi Qinghan smiled coldly. Xian Wuyu's strength was within his understanding. The evil nether sword was definitely not a 5th-grade weapon. It could be a 6th-grade weapon, or even higher. It was reasonable for it to be able to interrupt the heavy crazed blade. However, the evil nether sword had also shot into the mountain peak. Now, they were both barehanded. Close combat was the real fight to the death, as one careless move could lead to death. Cracked at the veins on the Azure Dragon arm bulged, as if the blood was boiling. He clenched his fist, causing the space to fluctuate. If you can block one of my punches, you win today. I don't have time to waste with you. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse, his arrogance overflowing. He had decided to use his strongest battle strength to completely suppress Xian Wuyu. He did not want to waste any more time, as he was afraid that Emperor Yi would be in danger on the other side. He did not know that the battle on the other side was almost one-sided. A god-slaying eagle and mad tiger surrounded Dongfang Yu, while the other god-slaying eagle and parrot surrounded Tang Xing. Old thing, Grandpa Divine Bird said that those who are more shameless than me will die, and so will you. Today, I will send you to hell to receive your punishment. Parrot hated Tang Xing to the bone, and sneered sarcastically. Screech! The god-slaying eagle roared, and madly pounced on Tang Xing, wanting to tear him apart. Dongfang Yu was in an even worse state. She was surrounded by the god-slaying eagle and mad tiger, and suffered several heavy blows. She was battered and exhausted. The parrot was hooting from the side, occasionally seizing the opportunity to launch a sneak attack, spitting out a mouthful of fire. Tang Xing was furious, and his heart was filled with fear. He gradually thought of retreating, but the parrot was too despicable. Every time he let down his guard and prepared to escape, it would take the opportunity to set fire. Now, his clothes were almost burned off, and even his beard was burned off. This was simply unbearable. You despicable bird! I will kill you! Tang Xing was burning with anger. He directly gave up on fighting the god-slaying eagle, and decided to kill the parrot first. Fuck! You still dare to hoot in front of Grandpa Divine Bird. Watch my burning the heavens. The parrot took a deep breath, and its spirit chi skyrocketed. It spat out a mouthful of fire, wanting to burn the heavens, and directly blocked Tang Xing's attack path. Screech! The god-slaying eagle caught up, and its sharp claws pierced Tang Xing's back. With a violent fling, it threw him directly into the depths of the mountains. 2 bloody swords appeared on Tang Xing's back. His bones were bloody, and his flesh was lacerated. He screamed miserably, and heaven and earth mourned. The parrot saw a great opportunity. How could it not take advantage of a drowning dog? Watch your Grandpa Divine Bird's supreme divine fire technique. Whoosh, 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 the parrot chased after Tang Xing, almost setting Tang Xing's body on fire. Tang Xing screamed miserably. The bone-eroding pain made him mad with hatred for the parrot. He had never hated anyone so much. Even if it was the god-slaying eagle, he only wanted to kill it and not hate it. But for the parrot, it was complete hatred. Fuck your ancestor! Tang Xing cursed angrily. He kept twisting his body, trying to avoid the parrot's attack. You bastard, even want to fuck this divine bird's ancestor. They have already gone to hell. You can fuck them after you die. The parrot's face was full of disdain. Its speed increased sharply, and it rushed above Tang Xing. It spat out another mouthful of fire, completely drowning Tang Xing. Boom! Tang Xing's broken body crashed into the mountain, shattering the mountain rocks. But the flames on his body were not extinguished. He flapped his body wildly and ran wildly in the forest. Everywhere he passed, there was a sea of flames, and the withered trees were set ablaze. The god-slaying eagle chased after him relentlessly. It was about to succeed. It did not want Tang Xing to die at the hands of the parrot. On the other side, the Eastern Jade Clay Bodhisattva was crossing the river. He could not even protect himself. He was entangled by the god-slaying eagle, and the mad tiger was pouncing and tearing at him. He did not even have a chance to escape. He could not help but feel despair. This was the first battle where the god-slaying eagle and the wild tiger pledged their loyalty to Yi Qinghan. They both wanted to succeed. The more they fought, the braver they became. They wanted to compete for the battle results. They wanted to become Yi Qinghan's first spiritual pet. At the very least, they had to be more powerful in front of Emperor Yi. After Emperor Yi used the Emperor burial hymn, he fell into a coma. He only woke up after a long time. Looking at the god-slaying eagle and the wild tiger suppressing the two life palaces, he could not help but exhale a mouthful of turbid air. He calmly repaired his injured fingers. His pale face gradually regained some color and became even purer. It was like a piece of sparkling and translucent top-grade spiritual crystal that people could not bear to part with. Emperor Yi slowly stood up, holding his guqin. He looked at the miserable Dongfang Yu. His consciousness projected the battlefield. He plucked the strings of his guqin, and the melody turned into an indestructible sound blade that broke through time and space, crashing into Dongfang Yu's sea of consciousness. Buzz! Dongfang Yu did not guard his soul at all. He was hit by Emperor Ye's attack and became dizzy. He spat out a mouthful of blood and screamed as he was sent flying. The eagle was the overlord of the sky. Its control of the killing technique had reached the peak. When it saw that Dongfang Yu's consciousness was not clear, its sharp claws pierced through the void and pierced into Dongfang Yu's body. Its sharp beak pecked at Dongfang Yu's throat. Puchi Dongfang Yu's pupils shrank. He grabbed the god-slaying eagle weakly. However, the god-slaying eagle would not give him the chance to resist. Its sharp claws tore Dongfang Yu into two. His blood dyed the sky. It was a horrifying scene. Emperor Ye's expression changed. He felt like vomiting. He quickly blocked his consciousness. Darkness filled his vision. It took him a long time to react. The god-slaying eagle did not hesitate to devour Dongfang Yu's blood. It swallowed half of his body without wasting anything. The other half fell from the sky and was swallowed by the wild tiger. Screech! The wild tiger roared excitedly. He had eaten a half-life palace elite today. His bloodline had evolved a lot. The god-slaying eagle was the same. However, they were still not satisfied. They all stared at the miserable Tang Sheng. Whoosh! Two god-slaying eagles attacked Tang Sheng from the front and back. The wild tiger attacked from the left. The parrot chased tirelessly. It had never been seen working so hard. Beating up a drowning dog was its favorite thing to do. Old fart, I'll burn all your feathers today. Let's see how you're going to make a fuss. Go to hell. Tang Sheng was in despair. It was impossible to break through the encirclement of two god-slaying eagles and a wild tiger. Since he was going to die, he might as well kill this stupid bird first. Tang Sheng did not care about the god-slaying eagle's arrival. He waved his sky-covering hand and attacked the parrot with all his strength. The parrot's hair stood on end. It retracted its butt and rushed into the distance like a missile. It even shouted, "You bitch! Do you only pick on the weak? I'll kill you!" Tang Sheng was furious. He unleashed a sure-kill attack. The hand broke through the void and grabbed at the parrot. Once it grabbed it, it would be crushed in an instant. Save me! Kill this bastard! I'll help you get credit from Master. The parrot used stellar transposition and pounced on the other god-slaying eagle. It was frightened by Tang Sheng's aura. It hugged one of the god-slaying eagle's wings and swayed in the air. Screech! The god-slaying eagle's sharp claws tore apart Tang Sheng's sky-covering hand and then stabbed into Tang Sheng's body. Tang Sheng felt attacks coming from all directions. There was no way out. He gave up resisting in despair. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He was unwilling to die. Puchi, the two god-slaying eagles stabbed their claws into Tang Sheng's body at the same time. They instantly sucked his blood and qi. In the end, they did not even let his corpse go. Emperor Yi did not have time to rejoice. He quickly said, "Quick, take me to Master. He can't fly. Xian Wuyu has the 5th stage vibrating spirit wings. He's at a disadvantage." Chapter 116. Wind howled between the heavens and the earth. Heavy snow suddenly fell from the sky, dyeing this part of the world white. In the barren valley, two powerful young men were almost naked from the waist up. Their weapons were stabbed into the peak of the mountain, gently whistling in the wind, singing the sounds of a final battle. Yi Qinghan issued the final challenge. One punch to determine the winner, appearing overbearing and arrogant. Xian Wuyu laughed wildly. One punch to determine the winner, Who in the younger generation of the world dared to say that one punch could defeat him? Yi Qinghan, you are not an ordinary arrogant person. No wonder those three old things wanted to kill you. Xian Wuyu took a deep breath and activated his demon spirit treasured body. His entire body glowed with a golden light, and wherever his demonic qi passed, the white snow melted. He clenched his fist and laughed in a hoarse voice. One punch it is. Let's see who is injured the most. If I am injured the most, then I will spare you today. If you are injured the most, then I will let you taste the feeling of your qi shattering. Then let's see if your demon spirit treasured body can withstand my azure dragon arm. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and mobilized all the true yuan in his body, gathering it into his azure dragon arm. Divine light flowed, like a red-hot iron. The scorching energy raised the surrounding temperature to a high level, and there was no longer any feeling of coldness. A tyrannical aura filled the air. Yi Qinghan's aura became somewhat sharp, like an ancient supreme overlord. His gaze made it impossible for others to refuse. They had to submit or else they would die. Tyrannical Emperor's Fist. 5th grade fist technique, a secret technique created by the great ancestor of the Xianyuan dynasty, Xianyuan Feiyang. Only one punch can break mountains, rivers, sun, and moon. You are at the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm, and I am at the 6th star of the Bitter Sea realm. I am not taking advantage of you. With one punch, life and death will be up to fate. Yi Qinghan took the initiative to introduce the secret technique, which was the basic respect for Xian Wuyu. It meant that he saw him as a real opponent. Good. Tyrannical Emperor's Fist. What a good fist that can break mountains, rivers, sun, and moon. Let's see if you can break my evil sword Dao and break my devil spirit treasure body. Xian Wuyu's expression turned serious. He was intimidated by Yi Qinghan's domineering aura. He no longer underestimated Yi Qinghan and erupted with his strongest battle power. He transformed into a sword and became one with the sword. There was no sword in his hand, but he was the evil spirit sword. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The wind and sand surged violently, and the cold snow interweaved. The vast sky looked magnificent, and it was all because of the two people's auras. At the same time, they would take advantage of the situation to erupt and fight for the overall situation. Whoever seized the opportunity first would have the advantage. The two of them fought crazily, not giving in to each other. The aura in the valley became more and more dignified and fierce. The violent aura melted the snow under the pressure. There was not a single drop of snow between them. The sand and stones were all crushed and turned into fine powder. As the wind blew, it dissipated in the air. Coo coo coo. The boiling blood in his body roared, and his hair danced in the wind. His jade-like face became incomparably cold, without the slightest trace of emotion. Yi Qinghan's aura became domineering and domineering. His aura had reached its peak. His iron fist swung back, and he took a stance. With a kick, he shattered the valley and roared, "Tyrannical Emperor shatters the mountains and rivers." Boom! The fist wind was rapid, and the sound of it breaking through the air was endless. Sparks flew in the cold air, and sand and stones flew all around the valley. Some of the mountain rocks were even sent flying. The red azure dragon arm was ravaged by the rolling Jin Yuan, which gathered in the center of the fist. Evil Sword Dao. Transforming Sword Style. With a low chant, Xian Wuyu transformed into a sword. With an unstoppable momentum, he pierced through the void and attacked Yi Qinghan. There was no technique to speak of. Both of them had the belief that their bodies were invincible. Whoever retreated would lose. Xian Wuyu was a horizontal palm, and Yi Qinghan was a fist. One was unstoppable, and the other was unstoppable. The 100-meter distance was crossed in a flash, and they collided in the blink of an eye. The moment Yi Qinghan made contact, he suddenly used the inch strike technique. Once again, he doubled his strength, and the wind blew against Xian Wuyu's face, causing his facial muscles to distort. Boom, kacha. The crisp sound of bones breaking reverberated through the clouds. Xian Wuyu let out a mournful scream. His entire right arm's flesh was shattered in a flash, turning into a bloody mist and dissipating. It dyed half the sky red. The golden precious bone was forcibly twisted and broken by the azure dragon arm. It was somewhat terrifying. Behind Xian Wuyu, the ancient trees were shattered and turned into fine powder. They were blown away by the wind, and even the mountain rocks were unable to withstand the power of the aftershock. It was clear to see the true power of this fist and how much damage Xian Wuyu had endured. Zing zing zing. Xian Wuyu continuously retreated, and the ground beneath his feet continued to crumble. His malevolent eyes looked at Yi Qinghan, who had only retreated a single step, and with a twist of his waist, he charged back at him in an incomparably tyrannical manner. Xian Wuyu's pupils immediately shrank. He knew that he was going to lose without a doubt. He was extremely unwilling, but if he continued to fight, he might very well die. I've lost. I'll let you off for today. Go back and save your disciple. Today's enmity will be avenged in the future. Xian Wuyu borrowed the momentum to fly away, and suddenly appeared at the peak of the mountain. He pulled out the evil spirit sword and soared into the sky. His ability to fly for a short period of time made Yi Qinghan helpless. Yi Qinghan watched as Xian Wuyu sped away. Instead of being angry, he smiled. At this moment, he was like an arrow at the end of its flight. His willpower was exhausted, and his true essence was exhausted. If Xian Wuyu did not leave and took the blow, the one who would die in the end would definitely be him. Xian Wuyu left, and the crisis dissipated. His imposing manner collapsed, and his vigorous and broken body suddenly fell backwards. It was not that Xian Wuyu was not strong. Otherwise, he would not have been able to force Yi Qinghan into such a state. Yi Qinghan had relied on his willpower, a short burst of power, and a high-level secret technique. Otherwise, how could he have defeated so many small realms and defeated a high-level special physique? Pooh, pooh, pooh. Yi Qinghan frantically breathed in the cold air. His fingertips trembled as he took out a few mid-grade spirit crystals from his universe ring. He quickly absorbed them to repair his azure dragon arm and replenish his true essence. The dark clouds in the sky scattered, and the snow roared, quickly covering Yi Qinghan's body. His qi and blood slowly slowed down, and even his blood was almost frozen. Screech! The god-slaying eagle let out a long cry as it brought Emperor Yi over from the void. The mad tiger split open the mountain and appeared at the entrance of the valley. Seeing the valley flattened and crisscrossed ravines, Emperor Yi could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. How could such a battlefield be caused by two low-level humans? Emperor Ye's eyes shone as he scanned the valley with his divine sense. He pointed to a large patch of snow at the center of the valley and hurriedly said, "Master's aura is under the snow." The god-slaying eagle flapped its wings, sending sand and stones flying. The snow rushed in the opposite direction, and Yi Qinghan's body appeared. His vigorous body had been frozen, and a layer of sparkling and translucent ice adorned his body. Damn, he's frozen to such a state. Is it really my incomparably tyrannical and invincible master? The parrot was shocked. It did not expect Xian Wuyu to become so powerful in just half a month. Demon Heart Fruit, Evil Spirit Sword, and Evil Spirit Sword arts were all terrifying secret techniques and ancient inheritances. In the end, he had been forced back by a low-level expert. In the eyes of Emperor Yi and the others, Xian Wuyu might have been ridiculously strong, which was why he had been able to injure Yi Qinghan. But in the eyes of outsiders, Yi Qinghan was even more ridiculously terrifying. The parrot rushed towards Yi Qinghan and opened its mouth to spit out a mouthful of fire to remove the ice on Yi Qinghan's body. Emperor Yi was shocked. He suddenly pulled on the zither, and the sound of the zither roared through the heavens and earth. A wave of air directly sent the parrot flying. "You're crazy! Master's body is now cold, and you're still setting fire? The cold is attacking his heart. Do you want to kill Master?" Emperor Yi was furious. He put away the divine zither and pounced towards Yi Qinghan. His young and tender body wanted to carry Yi Qinghan, but he could not move him no matter how hard he tried. The parrot was just about to curse, but when it thought of Emperor Ye's position in Yi Qinghan's heart, it quickly closed its mouth and laughed. It shouted at Mad Tiger, "Bald Tiger, can't you see that little master can't move him? Hurry up and help." Mad Tiger was furious. He wanted nothing more than to slap this lowly bird to pieces, but the situation was urgent. In order to gain merit, he could only let it go. The wild tiger curled up beside Yi Qinghan and used its body heat to melt the ice on Yi Qinghan's body, helping him to keep warm. Even though the wild tiger was full of vitality, it was still shivering from the cold. An hour later, Yi Qinghan slowly woke up. His entire body was in pain, causing him to frown. His azure dragon arm's blood flow was stagnant, as if his meridians were blocked. His true essence could not flow freely, and he did not even have the strength to adjust his breathing. He could not help but exhale a mouthful of turbid air. Xianwu, I did not think that I would have such a great opportunity to obtain the evil spirit's inheritance. It seems that I have to be careful in the future. My son, help me up. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. This battle had damaged his foundation, but Xianwu's injuries were even worse. He should have been an arrow at the end of its flight before leaving. His right arm would not be able to recover without at least half a year. What about Tang Sheng and the others? Seeing that the god-slaying eagle was unharmed, Yi Qinghan hurriedly asked. Emperor Yi hurriedly supported Yi Qinghan's arm, helping him up. He pursed his lips and said, "They were all killed. Not a single one escaped." The god-slaying eagle proudly let out a low cry, expressing its goodwill. Mad Tiger was as gentle as a kitten. Only the parrot had a disdainful expression, because not a single person had been killed by it. Yi Qinghan nodded in satisfaction. After thinking for a moment, the most important thing right now was to return to the city to recuperate. His foundation had been damaged, and if there were any lingering effects, it would be very detrimental to his future cultivation. However, it was inconvenient for him to move now. If he wanted to return to the city, he could not expose the god-slaying eagle. But with his body's current condition, he simply could not allow the god-slaying eagle to return to the azure dragon arm. "Help protect me. I need to heal my injured body first," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. He sat cross-legged on Mad Tiger, took out a large number of elixirs, and swallowed them all in one breath. Majestic spiritual energy flowed through his body, constantly healing the wounds in his body. Vital essence slowly gathered and began to unblock the blocked blood vessels in the azure dragon arm. The pain of being dismembered caused Yi Qinghan to frown slightly. Time passed slowly. The snow was still roaring, piling up in the valley, and instantly turning white. Yi Qinghan's vital essence gathered more and more. He felt the bottleneck loosen, and could not help but be overjoyed. He broke through the shackles of the 7 stars of the bitter sea, and successfully advanced. Once he entered the 7 stars of the bitter sea, Yi Qinghan's control over his vital essence instantly increased by a level. The speed of healing became faster and faster, and the external wounds quickly disappeared. The azure dragon arm became more rounded and powerful, difficult to be injured by swords and sabers. Even if his external injuries were healed, it would still be difficult to repair them. He would need special spirit dawn to repair them perfectly. Yi Qinghan obviously wouldn't allow any flaws in his body. Otherwise, it would have a fatal impact on his future cultivation. He did not even know if he could take revenge, let alone prove his Tao and become an emperor. "Godslayer Eagle, come back." Yi Qinghan stretched out his arm, and the Godslayer Eagle turned into a wisp of spiritual smoke. Returning to the azure dragon arm, Emperor Yi quickly kept the other Godslayer Eagle, then looked at Yi Qinghan, waiting for the next decision. "Let's go back to the city to kill Qin Haoren. Don't tell anyone about what happened today. Unless it's absolutely necessary, don't reveal the existence of the Godslayer Eagle. So many Fate Palace realm warriors died today. The powerhouses in the Zhongzhou will definitely come out. We have to be careful," Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Emperor Yi nodded seriously. She listened to Yi Qinghan's words. Chapter 117. In Flaming Cloud City, a large number of experts were cleaning up the corpses of the beasts and rebuilding their homes. The reinforcements were also helping out. With 2 Fate Palaces in charge, order was stable. Xinyuan Yu and Lu Patian were at the auction house. Half of it had already collapsed. The purple-robed Xinyuan Yu had a serious expression on his face. He had a feeling that something big had happened. "Brother Lu, do you have a bad feeling?" Xinyuan Yu asked. Me too, I've never felt like this before. It feels like the sky is falling down, causing my Dao heart to become unstable. I wonder if it's because of Dao friend Yi. Lu Padian took a deep breath and stared at the falling snow. There was no trace of celestial beauty at all. This person's appearance is strange. His cultivation is so low, but he can explode with such terrifying power. I really suspect that he's the reincarnation of an almighty and has memories of his past life. Xinyuan Yu said. No matter who he is, at least we didn't offend him. Plus, that child Outyin has some connections with him. Even if there's no benefit, there won't be any harm. Lu Padian thought for a moment and pretended to be relaxed. Although Lu Padian said so, he didn't think so. Such a monster would cause a storm of blood wherever he went. Even the innocent would be implicated. The two looked at the busy crowd outside. Suddenly, their pupils shrank. The outside world was in chaos. The experts all pulled out their swords and retreated. A huge tiger appeared outside the city. It was 7 or 8 meters tall and had no hair on its body. It was clearly the Fate Palace tiger that the parrot lured away. A man and a woman were standing on top of it. The man was handsome and elegant, and the woman was delicate. She looked like a pure white snow lotus at the peak of a snowy mountain. She was crystal clear and flawless, and had an indescribable charm. The cold wind blew his black hair. Yi Qinghan turned into a war god and looked down on everyone. His eyes were like torches as he searched for traces of Qin Haoren. The cold and arrogant aura suppressed the entire flaming cloud city. Tens of thousands of experts didn't dare to make a sound. However, the mortals couldn't feel the pressure. They all waved their hands and shouted. After all, they were still grateful to Yi Qinghan. If it wasn't for his sudden appearance, the entire city would have fallen into the flames of war. Emperor. Everyone knew Emperor Ye's name. She was so delicate that she looked like her own daughter. They couldn't help but shout her name when they saw their arrival. Emperor Yi smiled. She was happy. She had never received such treatment and glory. Brother, imperial sister, Yi Mingxi ran over from afar like a fairy. Lu Outyin, Jian Chenxue and Wang Shi were all smiles as they strolled leisurely in the courtyard. Xinyuan Yu and Lu Padian, the two Fate Palace experts, followed closely behind, giving Yi Qinghan a lot of face. Dove? How powerful was Yi Qinghan? Ling Chen was also shocked. From the moment Xian Wuyu appeared, he knew that it would be difficult for him to win. Both of them would suffer. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to come back even though he couldn't fly. Xian Wuyu didn't win. Yi Qinghan jumped down with Emperor Yi. He pointed at Yi Mingxi and said to Wild Tiger, "Recognize her as your master. From now on she is your master. Protect her." Wild Tiger was as docile as a cat. Unfortunately, he was hairless and looked ugly. Yi Mingxi stuck out her tongue and muttered, "What an ugly tiger." Wild Tiger snorted and glared at the parrot. He hated the parrot to the core. However, he couldn't do anything about it. There was no chance for him to take revenge. Wild Tiger immediately recognized Yi Mingxi as his master and formed a contract. The mark of a wild tiger appeared on Yi Mingxi's arm. She looked mighty and envied everyone. A 4th-grade Fate Palace realm beast. Even if it couldn't fly, it could still fight against Fate Palace realm beasts. With such a spiritual pet, one could go anywhere on Owl Fall Planet. Brother Yi, if you don't mind, please come to the auction house to catch up. Maybe we can work together and become friends, Xinyuan Yu said with his fists clasped. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. All the good pills were in the auction house. If he wanted to repair his foundation, he couldn't offend Xinyuan Yu. Even if he didn't have the pills he wanted, he could ask him to help him gather the materials. Senior Xinyuan, you're welcome. Please. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and looked at Lu Padian with a smile. Thank you for speaking up for me. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Haha, Brother Yi, you're too courteous. You and Outyin are friends. I can't just stand by and watch my junior suffer. Lu Padian laughed, trying to flatter himself. The corner of Xinyuan Yu's mouth twitched. Lu Padian was indeed smart. He regretted standing in the middle to mediate the fight in the morning. He might as well have stood on Yi Qinghan's side and fought with Tang Xing and the others. No matter who won or lost, at least he was on good terms with this monster. Unfortunately, Xin Yuanyu didn't know that Tang Xing and the others had already died. Now, on Owlfall Planet, other than the two Fate Palace realm beasts, there were only the Limit Realm beasts from Zhongzhou left. Brother Outyin, you guys go back first. I have something to do tonight. I'll pay you a visit in a few days, Yi Qinghan said to Lu Outyin. Lu Outyin nodded solemnly. Yi Qinghan already gave him enough face by talking to him alone. The rest of the opportunity would depend on whether or not his performance could satisfy Yi Qinghan. Lu Outyin brought Yi Mingxi and the others back to the relay station. Late at night, the snow stopped. The moonlight was like water, pouring down on the world. The silvery snow and ice on the branches made the area around Flaming Cloud City look like a fairyland. The auction house was almost fully restored after the efforts of hundreds of experts. At this moment, in a private room in the backyard, two Fate Palace realm beasts were personally pouring tea for Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. They didn't feel embarrassed at all. May I ask where Brother Yi is from? You're not a young expert from Owlfall Planet, right? Xin Yuanyu asked curiously. I'm from Owlfall Planet. I'm from a small, unknown place. Even if I say it, you too wouldn't have heard of it. Yi Qinghan took a sip of spirit tea and put it aside. Even Xin Yuanyu couldn't drink this kind of stuff often. However, he drank it like it was water, completely tasteless. Emperor Yi obediently stayed beside Yi Qinghan, sipping spirit tea and holding the parrot as he waited for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't want to waste time here and took the initiative to say, Brother Xin Yuan, this Yi wants to buy a pill. Do you have it here? Xin Yuanyu was surprised and quickly asked, what kind of pill does Brother Yi want to buy? Bone Replenishing Origin Pill, Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. The Bone Replenishing Origin Pill was a top-tier 4th-grade medicine. It could quickly repair any broken bone. Even if the root was damaged, it could be nursed back to health. Coupled with the recovery ability of a cultivator, normal injuries could be restored to peak condition in a short period of time with this pill. After hearing this, Xin Yuanyu stared at Yi Qinghan. He didn't seem to be injured at all. Every expert would prepare a portion of such a pill. However, this was a life-saving pill and there weren't many on Owlfall Planet. Even Xin Yuanyu only had one, so he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. If you don't have it, can you help me collect some materials for the Bone Replenishing Origin Pill? I'm willing to buy them at a high price, Yi Qinghan said with a frown. Xin Yuanyu's eyes narrowed. Although the Grade 4 Bone Regeneration Elixir was not as high as a Grade 5 elixir, its value was above that of a Grade 5 elixir. More importantly, such an elixir was extremely rare. It would be a miracle if a Life Palace Realm warrior could own one. Xin Yuanyu was shocked that Yi Qinghan knew how to refine it. If you know how to refine it, I'm willing to sell the one I have, but please help me refine some. I'm willing to provide the materials and pay a certain amount of spiritual crystals, Xin Yuanyu said happily. Sure, name your price. Yi Qinghan didn't want to waste any more time and said directly. I asked an old friend to get this Bone Replenishing Origin Pill. It's worth 4 million mid-grade and there's no market for it. I'll sell it to you at the original price and you don't have to pay. You can refine 2 more pills in the future as compensation. I'm willing to buy the Bone Replenishing Origin Pill you refined for 2 million mid-grade. Xin Yuanyu was ecstatic as if he had seen a mountain of gold and silver. He took out a jade brocade box and carefully handed it to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took the brocade box and opened it. There was a golden pill inside. It was the Bone Replenishing Origin Pill he needed. However, the quality didn't seem to be that good, but it was better than nothing. With this pill, he would be able to return to his peak state in 3 days. There's only 1 million mid-grade left. Take it as a deposit. I still have things to do tonight. I'll come back in 3 days. Goodbye. Yi Qinghan threw down a universe ring and left with Emperor Yi. Xin Yuanyu and Lu Patian looked at each other and didn't know what to say. Don't worry, I promise you that if Daoist Yi doesn't come back in 3 days, I'll pay you back. Lu Patian looked at Yi Qinghan's leaving figure and purposely said loudly. Yi Qinghan brought Emperor Yi straight to Lingbao Pavilion. A cold smile appeared on his face as he retracted his killing intent and appeared in front of Lingbao Pavilion in the blink of an eye. Boom! Lingbao Pavilion's gate was directly shattered by Yi Qinghan's palm. Iron powder flew everywhere. Do you want to die? Coming to Lingbao Pavilion to cause trouble, are you tired of living? More than 10 cultivators rushed out from within the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. 4 of them were at the Grotto Heaven Realm. When they saw that it was Yi Qinghan who had brought Ren Huangyi over, their expressions changed drastically. They quickly bowed and said, "So, it's fellow Taoist Yi. Little princess, I didn't know that you two had graced us with your presence. Please forgive us." Scram, call Qin Ying and Qin Haoran out. Yi Qinghan spread out his divine sense, covering 1,000 meters around Lingbao Pavilion. When he found that Qin Haoran hadn't left, he couldn't help but smile coldly and walk towards the back of Lingbao Pavilion. "Taoist Yi, what are you doing?" A Grotto Heaven Realm expert panicked. He didn't dare to block Yi Qinghan, but he also didn't dare to let Yi Qinghan barge in. "Scram, I'm here to kill people. If you dare to block me again, I don't mind killing one more." Yi Qinghan released his aura, directly sending the Bitter Sea Realm experts in front flying. The Grotto Heaven Realm experts all retreated, their faces as pale as paper. Chapter 118. He released his aura and sent everyone flying. His black hair fluttered even though there was no wind, tearing through the void. The killing intent in his eyes had condensed to the point of materialization. The Grotto Heaven Realm experts were immediately alarmed. They looked at Yi Qinghan, who was as graceful as jade, and felt as if they were looking at a ghost. "Who does fellow Yi want to kill?" "This is the Lingbao Pavilion, the Qin clan's private property." "My son, what are you?" Qin clan's third elder, Qin San, rushed out from the backyard and questioned with a dissatisfied expression. "Third elder, please call Qin Haoran out. We are only looking for him today." Emperor Ye's expression was calm. Today was the best opportunity to sever all ties with the Qin clan. This Qin clan had already caused her to despair. "Haoran? You want to kill Haoran? Qin Shihuang, are you crazy? He's your brother. You unfilial son, you actually want to kill your brother." Qin San angrily rebuked. Yi Qinghan coldly smiled. His eyes emitted a cold light as he said disdainfully, "If you dare to say another word, I will wring your head off." Qin San was burning with anger. He was just about to retort when he was frightened by Yi Qinghan's cold gaze. His breathing stagnated and he immediately shut his mouth. "Remember, she is Emperor Yi, not Qin Shihuang. If you call her by the wrong name again, you can forget about your tongue. Also, if you dare to be disrespectful to her in the future, I will not give you the chance to speak again." Yi Qinghan's domineering aura surged and enveloped the Lingbao Pavilion, suppressing everyone. The corner of his mouth slightly rose as he sneered, "Heh, Qin clan? So what? If you anger me, I will crush you." Dong dong dong, more than 10 experts were shocked speechless by these arrogant words for a long time. Their hearts were about to explode and their faces were as white as paper. They did not dare to look at Yi Qinghan. The broken house faced the cold wind and let out a terrifying sound, breaking the silence of the night. Qin Ying hurriedly rushed to the front yard and saw Yi Qinghan's killing intent. He could not help but ask, "Fellow Taoist Yi, what are you doing?" "Hand over Qin Haoran. Today's matter has nothing to do with you. If you dare to stand out, I will be the Qin clan." Yi Qinghan impatiently. "Qin Ying. Lane? Emperor? Of Qin Haoran, get the hell out here." Qin Ying shouted towards the backyard. In the backyard, Qin Haoran's face was deathly pale and his legs were trembling. He thought to himself, "I went to look for Tang Sheng and the others. Yi Qinghan can't possibly know. Moreover, Tang Sheng and the others went to look for Yi Qinghan. How could they still be alive?" However, he did not dare to escape. He wanted to use sophistry to escape this calamity. He slowly calmed down and walked out of the backyard. He looked at the crowd with an innocent expression and then bowed to Yi Qinghan and said, "Senior Yi, may I know why you are looking for me?" "To kill you," Yi Qinghan coldly said as he reached out to grab Qin Haoran's neck. "Wait, Senior, you are my son's master. Even if you are my martial uncle, you can't kill me without giving me an explanation. Tell me, what did I do wrong? If I really did commit a capital crime, I won't even frown if you want to kill me. Qin Haoren staggered and fell backwards. He shouted with a face full of unwillingness. Shouldn't I kill you? Don't you know what you did this afternoon? Yi Qinghan coldly asked. I don't understand. After the beast tide retreated, I returned to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion after obtaining some demon cores. I definitely didn't do anything to offend you. If you want to kill me and fight for the Qin clan's property for my son, I am not your opponent. The entire Qin clan is not your opponent either. I won't implicate the Qin clan. Just kill me. Qin Haoren took a step forward and said in a cold voice. He closed his eyes and waited for death as if he had been wronged. Qin Ning was shocked. The younger generation of the Qin clan was counting on Qin Haoren. How could he let Yi Qinghan kill him just like that? Mr. Yi, let's talk nicely. Is there some misunderstanding? He really was at home this afternoon. This old man is not lying. Qin Ning hurriedly stopped Yi Qinghan and said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan sneered. He didn't expect Qin Haoren to be so smart. He even tried to play the emotional card with Yi Qinghan. Qin Haoren, you won't give up until you hit the wall. How dare you play this game with me? If I want to kill you, why would I care about my reputation? But since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Yi Qinghan's face was full of disdain. He coldly said, This afternoon, you went to find Tang Sheng and the others. What did you say to them? When Qin Haoren heard this, his heart trembled and his body went numb. His soul showed obvious fluctuations but quickly returned to normal. However, he still couldn't avoid Yi Qinghan's divine sense. I didn't find Tang Sheng and the others. They are Fate Palace experts and I'm just a bitter sea junior. How could they meet me? Also, didn't they leave Flaming Cloud City and return to the central region? Qin Haoren pretended not to know and asked blankly, Mr. Yi, didn't Tang Sheng and the other seniors leave Flaming Cloud City this morning? Mr. Yi, you must have misunderstood. Qin Ning smiled bitterly. He didn't dare to offend Yi Qinghan and could only extend his hand to invite him. Mr. Yi, no matter if my son's surname is Yi or Qin, we are still connected. No matter what, we are still a family. It's not good to hurt our relationship because of a misunderstanding. Mr. Yi, please come in and have a seat. How about this? No need. My words are never wrong. Qin Haoren, since you don't want to admit it, I have a way to make you admit it. I don't want you to say that I am unreasonable and bully others. Yi Qinghan coldly laughed and said to Emperor Yi, My son, make him speak the truth. Emperor Yi took a step back. He waved his hand and the divine zither appeared in his arms. He gently plucked the strings and the sound of nature spread out in all directions. It was crisp and pleasant to the ears, making people lose their minds. Qin Haoren was just a piece of trash who had no great wisdom. Emperor Yi had just shown his brilliance and fell into an illusion. Qin Haoren's eyes were dull. His soul was empty as he fell into his own dream. He saw Tang Sheng and the others killing Yi Qinghan and slaughtering Emperor Yi while he stood by the side and cheered. Ha, good kill. Cripple Yi Qinghan and this unfilial son for me. Let me personally crush this pair of blind people. I didn't lie to you. Yi Qinghan is just a useless piece of trash who can't fly. How can he be your opponent? Shwa shwa shwa, Qin Haoren's face was malevolent. He slashed with his sword and roared, Yi Qinghan, you are blind. You didn't even nurture a genius like me and instead nurtured this blind piece of trash. What can a little girl achieve? I will chop you blind man to death. Kneel down and beg for mercy. Perhaps I will spare you. Pass on all your cultivation methods and secret techniques to me. I am the #1 genius in the world. Haha, Qin Haoren was like a madman. Everyone was dumbfounded. Qin Ying's face was ashen. He wanted to kill this bastard. That's right. I was the one who told Senior Tang Sheng that you can't fly. As long as I can hold you back for 3 moves, I can kill you. How about it? Can you do anything to me? Ha! Slap. Qin Ning was burning with anger. He used his Zhen Yuan to fiercely slap Qin Haoren, sending him flying more than 10 meters away and crashing into a broken wall. With a face full of anger, he roared, "You good-for-nothing trash. What did I tell you? I told you to treat your sister well, but all you think about is fame and fortune. You even want to kill your own sister. Are you still human?" Qin Haoren's face instantly swelled. He was confused. He touched his burning face and asked unwillingly, "What happened? I seem to have been controlled just now." "You piece of trash. I will personally kill you today so that you don't dirty Mr. Ye's hands." Qin Ying seemed to want to protect Qin Haoren. He held the rod and started to beat him. The crackling sound broke the silence of the night. The rod pierced into the flesh without any mercy. Although it was painful, it wasn't fatal. Yi Qinghan sneered. How could the person he wanted to kill be forgiven after suffering some physical pain? If he didn't kill this piece of trash today, he would always be a bomb. Although he couldn't kill him, he would cause him endless trouble. However, if Qin Ying wanted to show off, then he would let him show off first. It wouldn't be too late to let Qin Haoren suffer a little before he died. Emperor Yi kept the divine zither with an indifferent expression. Since the moment Qin Haoren wanted to kill him, he was completely disappointed in the Qin clan. Today, he would completely end it. Slap, slap. The rod pierced into the flesh, causing Qin Haoren's flesh to split open. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. His miserable screams echoed throughout the flaming cloud city, attracting countless experts to watch. Lu Padian and the others stood in the distance and looked at Yi Qinghan's cold expression. Their hearts turned cold and they didn't dare to offend Yi Qinghan. So what if it was the Qin clan? They were close relatives of Emperor Yi. Now, he turned around and wanted to beat them up and even kill them. How could anyone who offended him have a good ending? After beating for an hour, Qin Haoren was beaten to death. He fainted a few times and was beaten awake again. Finally, he was beaten until he fainted again. Many people couldn't help but tremble. They were shocked by Qin Ying's ruthlessness. To beat his own grandson to such a state, he could be considered ruthless. However, Yi Qinghan sneered the entire time. Qin Ying threw away the blood-soaked rod and said to Yi Qinghan sadly, "Mr. Yi, I have taught him a lesson today. I don't know if you can spare his life on account of this old man and my son's parents? No, I must kill this person. Your Qin clan's successor should be someone else. This kind of trash is indeed not suitable to be the Qin clan's patriarch." Yi Qinghan coldly replied. Qin Ying's face was filled with helplessness and unwillingness. He didn't think that Yi Qinghan would be so resolute. He had already beaten Qin Haoren to such a state, but he still wasn't willing to let him go. "If you want to stop me, I don't mind killing a few more." Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at Qin Ying and the others. He reached out and grabbed the unconscious Qin Haoren. His fingertip tapped on Qin Haoren's dantian point. True essence shattered Qin Haoren's qi and tore apart his soul, increasing his perception. A heart-wrenching pain caused Qin Haoren to open his eyes. He looked at Yi Qinghan with a sinister expression. "You will die a horrible death. Cripple my qi. You will go to hell. You pair of bitches. Adulterers. You will die a horrible death." Peng. Yi Qinghan's azure dragon arm appeared. True essence poured out and rushed into Qin Haoren's body, shattering everything. Qin Haoren's body was shattered into pieces, turning into a bloody mist that dyed the snow red. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and retreated one after another. They didn't dare to come into contact with Yi Qinghan's divine will. "My son, remember, you must not be soft-hearted in the future. When dealing with your enemies, kill," Yi Qinghan coldly instructed, setting an example. His cold voice was like a sharp knife that pierced into everyone's hearts, causing them to feel pain all over their bodies. "Let's go." A domineering and arrogant cold aura stole people's souls. He stepped forward, leaving behind a figure that no one could resist. He walked further and further away, as if he was an indomitable god of war leading an ignorant little girl to the end of the world, to the pure land of mankind. Chapter 119. Qin Ying clenched his fists, his face filled with killing intent. He was furious to the extreme. He had performed for so long and beaten Qin Haoren so miserably, but Yi Qinghan was not willing to give him any face. This was simply a humiliation to him and the Qin clan, causing them to lose face in front of countless experts. Yi Qinghan, you will regret this. Qin Shi Huang, this old man has treated you well, but I did not expect you to be such an ungrateful wretch, turning your back on me. Qin Ying's eyes were filled with haze, as sharp as an eagle's. Even now, he had not regretted his actions. What was the reason for today's outcome? Yi Qinghan did not feel relaxed at all after killing Qin Haoren. Killing that kind of trash was just a matter of waving his hand. The true enemy was slowly approaching. If he did not break through to the Grotto Heaven realm in a short period of time, he would not have the strength to protect himself. The experts behind Xian Wuyu, Tang Sheng, and the others would all rush here. Flaming Cloud City was not a place for them to stay for long. My son, for the next few days, you must cultivate in peace. Do not wander around, and do not trust anyone. I will go into seclusion to repair my foundation. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan instructed in a deep voice. Master, don't worry. I will raise my cultivation as soon as possible. Emperor Yi nodded seriously. Yi Qinghan ate some spirit fruits and brought Emperor Yi back to Hufei Er's courtyard. However, the rooms here had already been razed to the ground. He could only open up a simple cave on the opposite mountain and buy a bed and quilt for Emperor Yi. Then he swallowed the bone-replenishing foundation elixir and entered the state of self-repairing his foundation. Once the elixir entered his body, it turned into specks of essence that circled around his limbs and bones, causing Yi Qinghan to become sparkling and translucent. His damaged bone marrow was wrapped in a large amount of spiritual energy, causing his foundation to rise again, causing Yi Qinghan to become as ethereal as an immortal. A vast amount of Zhen Yuan flowed through his entire body. All the major acupoints in his body had been opened, and the Zhen Yuan flowed unimpeded, tempering his flesh and blood. A large number of spirit crystals were arranged in an orderly manner in the surroundings, forming a super spirit gathering array. Spirit chi swarmed in from all directions, filling the entire mountain with spirit chi. It was almost condensed to the point of materialization, drilling straight into Yi Qinghan's body. His sparkling and translucent skin adhered to the liquid spirit chi, healing his hidden injuries. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had reached the psychic state. His divine sense had broken through the shackles and reached the clouds. It was as if he was about to enter the universe and roam freely. The vastness of the universe and the magnificence of the galaxy fascinated him. One flower, one world. Everything in the world had a Tao. The more one looked at it, the deeper one's understanding of the Tao. His divine senses were in the air, overlooking all life on the ground. All of Fire Cloud City was reflected in his eyes as he saw experts rebuilding the city. He saw all kinds of people. Some supported each other, some fought for wealth, and he gained a deeper understanding of human nature. Traveling 10,000 miles was better than reading 10,000 books. Traveling the world, seeing the mountains, the sun, and the moon, seeing all kinds of people, and seeing all kinds of great Taos could elevate one's soul. One's understanding of the great Tao's laws would be better than cultivating for 10 or 100 years. Yi Qinghan was expressionless as he looked at the mountain valley outside Flaming Cloud City. Corpses were piled up like mountains. These were the martyrs who had sacrificed themselves for Flaming Cloud City. They were waiting to be buried in peace. Yi Qinghan was unperturbed. Death was not the final destination. Perhaps it was just the beginning. His dim blood and qi began to recover, slowly boiling and roaring. The dark purple blood turned red, and finally became golden, like precious blood. Finally, it roared in his blood vessels, evolving his bloodline and tempering his golden body Tao body. His vital essence became increasingly pure, penetrating the sea of bitterness from his sea of qi, stirring the universe of the sea of bitterness. The waves hit thousands of miles, shattering the shackles and bottlenecks. He was only half a step away from breaking through the 7 stars of the bitter sea and entering the 8 stars. Yi Qinghan gradually withdrew his divine senses and gathered them in his body, suppressing the roaring of his true vitality. He did not intend to break through for the time being. First, he had to repair his damaged foundation and origin. It would not be too late to break through then. Taking a deep breath, Yi Qinghan entered a state of recuperation. His aura was restrained. Other than the surging spiritual qi, no one could discover that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were in the valley. On the vast continent of Zhongzhou, snow was falling. Countless ancient families stood. Although they had fallen, they still had some foundation. In the state capital of Qing, Tang family's mansion occupied an area of dozens of miles. There were at least 10,000 direct descendants and more than 100,000 collateral relatives. It was one of the most powerful forces on Owl False Star. Not only was there Tang Xing, a Fate Palace powerhouse, but there was also a Fate Palace powerhouse who was nearing the end of his life. Tang Quan was almost 500 years old and was only half a step away from becoming a Dao Master. Unfortunately, he lacked qi and blood and could never become a Dao Master. He had been cultivating in the ancestral land of the Tang family, waiting for death to come. Unless the Tang family was facing a catastrophe, he would not come out. On Owl False Star, there were many powerhouses who were nearing the end of their life like Tang Quan. There were at least 5 or 6 of them who were cultivating in seclusion. However, today, at least 5 of them opened their eyes at the same time. Looking at the broken life cards in front of them, they clenched their fists and their killing intent soared to the sky and shattered the mountains. Every Fate Palace powerhouse would leave a life card in their family. Once they died, the life card would be broken so that the family could be prepared. Sheng'er is dead. Tang Quan was furious. Tang Xing was only 400 years old and was 100 years away from the end of his life. He could support the family for 100 years, but he died today. Boom. On Owl False Star's Zhongzhou continent, at least 4 powerhouses were awakened at the same time. It was as if ancient beasts had come into being. The powerful pressure resonated with each other and connected the heavens and the earth, alarming countless powerhouses. With such a foundation, even if the beast tide attacked the center of the continent, they would be able to fight back. However, they did not care about the life and death of living creatures. They only cared about whether they could make a breakthrough and extend their life. Today, they were awakened by Tang Quan and the others and had to come out. Tang Quan, Dongfang Haoyue, Sidu Wanli, and Yi Kongsheng looked at each other and nodded slightly. They were all powerhouses of the same era and were very familiar with each other. Something happened to Xing'er of the Tang family. His life card is broken. Tang Quan was extremely old. His skin was like withered tree bark, wrinkled and unbearable. His voice was hoarse and emitted a decaying aura. My Sidu Feng is dead too. How can a Fate Palace powerhouse die at the same time? Situ Wanli roared. His white hair flew back and tore the void. His terrifying spiritual ether shattered the space and suppressed the heavens and the earth. Dongfang Haoyue was dressed in green and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. At the moment, his face was ferocious. Dongfang Yu was only 300 years old and had entered the Fate Palace realm. He was a rare genius. Who would have thought that he would die so tragically today without even having the time to send out a distress signal? They are blocking the beast tide in Huiyun City, but it can't be the beasts that killed them. The 3 Fate Palace powerhouses can protect themselves against the beast tide. There must be a powerhouse involved. Let's go and take a look. Dongfang Haoyue said coldly. The 4 experts joined hands and pounced towards the distance, covering the stars and moon as they swept up the vast and mighty dome of heaven. Their imposing manner was peerless. This was the strongest formation in the history of Owl False Star, and it scared the 8 powers to the point that they didn't dare utter a word. Yi Qinghan was still frantically cultivating his foundation. He was comprehending the sea of bitterness, the 6 paths, 10,000 laws, the origin, and the profound meaning of law. Water was life. The source of all life came from water. The profound meaning of water was broad and profound. Few could comprehend the profound meaning of water to the great success stage. Once the profound meaning of water reached the great success stage, it was equivalent to attaining an immortal body. A drop of blood could turn into a golden body. As long as the enemy couldn't kill all life in an instant, the injured body could be healed in an instant. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and comprehended the profound meaning of water. His soul was immersed in the origin of water in the chaos. The great Tao was difficult to understand. If one could understand the Tao in the morning, one could die in the evening. Water was an extremely soft substance. The tiny person in the sea of consciousness stroked the origin of water in the chaos. With the help of the ancient yin-yang technique, he cultivated the secret technique of Tai Chi. The 8 trigrams evolved into a formation that hung in the 9 heavens. The secret technique of Tai Chi was a secret technique in the divine martial imperial code. It seemed simple, but few could comprehend its profundity. In his previous life, Yi Qinghan had only cultivated it to the minor success stage. It took him decades of effort. Now that he was standing on the shoulders of his previous life, he had a deeper understanding of the secret technique of Tai Chi. The origin of water became denser and denser. Guided by the power of Tai Chi, it turned into a flood dragon that swam in the chaos. The tiny person in the sea of consciousness moved faster and faster. He took the initiative to control the profound meaning of water. He pierced through the sea of bitterness and pounced on Yi Qinghan's body, nourishing it. Any injuries could be healed quickly, making the surface of his body even more crystalline. Divine light filled the air, and he turned into a god of the 9 heavens. Yi Qinghan's body glowed with golden light. His fingertips trembled occasionally, as if he wanted to cultivate with the little person. Sweat dripped from his forehead, trailing down his temples and shoulders. His enchanting appearance was irresistible. Emperor Yi was currently immersed in the Tao of Guqin. He was comprehending the inheritance of the ancient divine Guqin. Every time his soul became stronger, he would gain more memories. At this moment, he knew that this divine Guqin was called the Dragon Bone Guqin. It was a Guqin created from the bones and tendons of the ancient divine Guqin emperor after he killed the demonic dragon. Although it was sealed and required the inheritor to reach a certain level to recover his peak combat power, its power was not something that ordinary people could resist. Buried Emperor's Chant, a famous song from the desolate era. Gently stroking the strings, it sang of the world's joys and sorrows, touching the vicissitudes of life. Emperor Yi could feel how much effort the Guqin Emperor had put in for the sake of the people of the endless universe. He had fought with the beasts of 10,000 races and the spirits of the forbidden grounds many times. Every time, blood would stain the sky and burn the emperor's blood. Emperor Ye's face was red and his blood was boiling. He wanted to soar into the sky and fight for the people. He wanted to fight for his master. He wanted to break all injustice and fight for a place for the human race. Buzz! The vicissitudes of life of the Guqin cut through the ancient times and collapsed the endless river of history. It swirled in the cave and turned into a divine medicine. Yi Qinghan's body trembled. His blood was boiling and his body was covered in sweat. Divine light shone in all directions and illuminated the cave. Boom, boom, boom. His blood was boiling. He could no longer suppress his true yuan. It directly broke through the bottleneck and rushed into the 8 stars of the bitter sea. His combat power instantly increased by several times. Yi Qinghan's eyes widened, and with a slight movement of his fingertips, a lifelike mist dragon appeared out of thin air. It rushed out of the cave, and wherever it passed, withered trees would rise again. Boundless vitality filled half of the valley with greenery. It looked extremely mysterious. The increase in his cultivation did not make him happy at all. His heart was in a frenzy and his Tao heart almost collapsed. A sense of crisis enveloped his body and made his hair stand on end. Chapter 120. Yi Qinghan's eyes glinted fiercely. This sense of danger came suddenly. It did not come from Yu Wuyu, but from Tang Sheng's family. Have they used all their trump cards? Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. Trump cards, other than the dying Fate Palace experts and half-step Tao masters, there was no one else. These experts looked like they were past their prime, but in fact they were extremely powerful. They were much more powerful than Tang Sheng and the rest. Yi Qinghan was not a god. Even if he had the memories and secret techniques of his previous life, and now that he had broken through the 8 stars of the bitter sea and understood some ultimacy of water, he could not fight with those terrifying existences. My son, let's go. Leave Flaming Cloud City. Yi Qinghan grabbed Emperor Yi and summoned the god-slaying eagle. he said in a low voice, "Take me to the Demon Valley continent." Screech. The god-slaying eagle felt the benefits these days. It obeyed Yi Qinghan's words. With a long screech, it took Yi Qinghan into the sky and traveled dozens of miles in the blink of an eye. The next morning, Tang Quan, Dongfang Haoyue, and the rest came together and suppressed the area within 100 miles of Flaming Cloud City. Their aura spread as they rushed into the depths of ancient Lulon. Lu Padian soared into the sky. Seeing these old monsters' sinister and ruthless expressions, as if their fathers had been killed, he couldn't help but have a bad feeling. He hurriedly went forward and bowed. "Lu Padian of Lulon greets 4 seniors." "Lu Padian, the monster tide has retreated. Why did Tang Sheng and the rest die at the same time while you are fine?" Tang Quan asked coldly. Lu Padian was shocked. Didn't Tang Sheng and the rest leave Flaming Cloud City? They had already gone to the central continent. How could they die? This is impossible. Tang Sheng, Dongfang Yu, and Sidu Feng are not injured. They have already left Flaming Cloud City and went to the central continent yesterday morning. According to the time, they should be back home. Lu Padian said in a low voice. He felt that something was wrong. These old monsters usually would not come out unless something big happened to their families. For example, the death of a Fate Palace expert of a guardian family. But Tang Sheng and the other 2 left together. What kind of strength did they need to kill 3 Fate Palace experts silently? Dao Master Realm? But how could there be a Dao Master on the Owlfall Star? That's right, I can testify that we saw Tang Sheng and the others leave with our own eyes. If there is a great battle in the central continent, you will definitely feel it. Xianyuan Yu hurriedly rushed out of the auction house and flew into the air. He stared at the 4 great limit realm experts and said in a low voice. "Their life cards are broken. It was broken yesterday." Tang Sheng was enraged. His aura surged and tore apart the spiritual qi in the air, forming a violent spatial storm that made it hard for everyone to breathe. Lu Padian and the rest were breathing heavily and their faces were pale. If a Fate Palace Realm Life Tablet was broken, it meant that they were dead for sure. If a Fate Palace Realm Life Tablet died without a sound, it meant that it was a piece of cake for the enemy to kill them. How is this possible? They weren't injured at all when they left. With 3 Fate Palaces working together, it would take a lot of effort for you seniors to kill them. How could they have died after leaving without alerting us? Xianyuan Yu was shocked and found it hard to believe. Fate Palaces like them could feel the battle within 100 miles, especially the battle between Fate Palaces which could affect dozens of miles. They could feel it from 200 miles away. It was a pity that Yi Qinghan and the others were fighting more than 300 miles away from the Flaming Cloud City. There was no way for them to know that the mountains over there were falling apart. Nothing is impossible now. If you are not the murderer, I can't think of anyone else. You were the last to see him, weren't you? Dongfang Haoyue asked coldly with a murderous intent. Lu Padian and Xianyuan Yu's expressions changed. They looked at each other and approached each other, looking at the 4 great limit realm experts cautiously. Xianyuan Yu explained in a low voice, "Seniors, you must have evidence to back up your words. We are not crazy enough to kill Brother Tang Sheng." "That's right. Besides, even if we wanted to kill them, do you think we could have done it with our strength?" Lu Padian asked with dissatisfaction. "The defense of the demonic valley has been broken. The Fate Palaces guarding the valley must have been annihilated. Now, other than the 2 of you, how many Fate Palaces are there?" Tang Quan shouted angrily. "Even if it's only the 2 of us, we didn't kill them. Seniors, who doesn't have a background? You may try to kill us now, but have you not thought of the consequences?" Xianyuan Yu was furious. These old monsters were too ridiculous. They didn't even think about how they could have killed 3 Fate Palaces. "Then give me evidence. Who did it, or who is the suspect?" "Xianyuan Yu, don't try to scare us with your old man. If we find out that it was indeed you 2 who did it, we will fight to the death. Today, I will kill Lu Lan and the auction house even if I have to sacrifice my life." Tang Quan and the other 2 joined forces to suppress them. Lu Padian and Xianyuan Yu turned pale and took a few steps back. Lu Padian and the others thought of Yi Qinghan at the same time. This strange existence, they muttered in their hearts. When Yi Qinghan left the Flaming Cloud City, he wasn't severely injured. But when he came back, he wanted to buy bone-replenishing origin elixirs. Although I can't see that he was injured, he must have been severely injured. In this world, only Tang Sheng and the others can injure him. Could it be that Tang Sheng and the others didn't return to the central province, but changed their path and followed Yi Qinghan? That can't be right. Yi Qinghan can't be so strong. He killed 3 fate palaces at the same time and looked like he wasn't injured at all. Whether or not Tang Sheng and the others were killed by Yi Qinghan, Xin Yuanyu and Lu Patian didn't dare to say anything. After all, offending Yi Qinghan wasn't a good thing. Seniors, this matter has nothing to do with us. Yesterday, we were rebuilding the Flaming Cloud City. The citizens and practitioners in the city can testify for us. If you don't believe me, you can ask them. As for who killed Taoist Tang Sheng, we are also very confused and worried. If the other party can kill Tang Sheng and the others, they can kill us too. Xin Yuanyu said in a deep voice. Tang Quan looked at Xin Yuanyu coldly. He knew that Xin Yuanyu wasn't lying. Maybe he was hiding something, but he wasn't the murderer. Everyone, Tang Sheng, Dong Fangyu and Sidu Feng, who fought for the sake of the people, died at the same time. They were killed by a scoundrel after leaving the Flaming Cloud City yesterday. If you have any clues about where they went or who they met, just say it. I will take you as my direct disciple and let you step into the Fate Palace realm. Situ Wanli glanced at the crowd and said in a deep voice. Everyone gasped. The old monster had been unwilling to take in disciples for many years. Today, he chose to take in disciples because of a clue. Many people were tempted, including people like Ling Chen. To be able to get the guidance of these half-step Dao masters was better than cultivating hard for more than 10 years. Some people thought of Xian Wuyu, and some people thought of Yi Qinghan. These 2 monsters were extremely powerful. When Xian Wuyu flew past the Flaming Cloud City, everyone saw it. Yi Qinghan's combat strength was well known. Senior. Yesterday, a young expert appeared. He has grade 5 vibrating spiritual wings and the sword in his hand is very evil. He left the Flaming Cloud City and headed towards the ancient mountain range in the southwest. He is Xian Wuyu, one of the top 10 young experts. A few days ago, Yi Qinghan broke his Sea of Qi. Who would have thought that it would recover and his strength would increase tremendously? I'm afraid that even an emperor might not be his match. Many people did not mention Yi Qinghan because Yi Qinghan had saved them. Instead, they dragged Xian Wuyu into it. They were innocent. What a joke. Don't talk nonsense if you don't know anything. Xian Wuyu left the city to seek revenge from Yi Qinghan. How could he have a conflict with 3 Fate Palace realm experts? Even if there was a conflict, how could he kill 3 Fate Palace realm experts? As Xian Wuyu's close friend, Di Kong shouted coldly when he saw so many people pointing the clue to Xian Wuyu. Xian Wuyu? Yi Qinghan? Who is Yi Qinghan? Show yourself. Tang Quan glanced at the crowd and released his aura, intimidating everyone. Yi Qinghan had already escaped. Even if he was here, he would not show himself to be killed by these people unless he was muddle-headed. There was dead silence as everyone looked around, hoping to find Yi Qinghan. Seniors, I'm Qin San, the 3rd elder of the Qin clan. I know a clue that might be of great use to you. Qin San rushed over and cupped his fists. Oh, tell me. As long as you can tell me the crucial clue, I'll take you in as my disciple. Dongfang Haoyue said in a deep voice. Tang Sheng, after the 3 seniors left the Flaming Cloud City, they met the grandson of the Qin clan, Qin Haoran. I'm not sure what they asked, but they left the city to look for Yi Qinghan. Last night, when Yi Qinghan returned to the city, the first thing he did was kill Haoran, and then he swaggered off. That brat is arrogant, domineering, and incomparably arrogant. I feel that this matter is most likely related to him. Qin San sneered as he spoke in a low voice. What other clues do you have? Dongfang Haoyue clenched his fist and asked in a hoarse voice. During the Beast Tide, Yi Qinghan killed 2 Fate Palace Realm Level 4 vicious beasts, the Rhinoceros Monster and the Violent Bear. He has the ability to kill a Fate Palace Realm human at close range. Moreover, he had a conflict with Tang Sheng and the other seniors when the beast tide ended. Yi Qinghan bullied them by taking away the demonic cores, rhinoceros horns, and fur of the level 4 vicious beasts. Therefore, there's a grudge between them. Qin San said frankly. As soon as he said that, the atmosphere in the flaming cloud city changed. The 3 great limit sovereigns were filled with murderous intent. Lu Padian and Xin Yuanyu's expressions changed slightly. Lu Outyen, who was standing far away, felt his heart sink. He slowly retreated and led Yi Mingxi and the rest to the inner part of ancient Lulun. There were great limit sovereigns in ancient Lulun. Tang Quan and the rest would have to consider the consequences if they wanted to kill Yi Mingxi. At that moment, Yi Qinghan was standing on the back of the goshawk, thousands of miles away from the flaming cloud city. They were heading straight for the Demon Valley. The Demon Valley was a vast ancient mountain plain. There were countless races here, but there were no humans. This was because the 2 races were mortal enemies and would kill each other when they met. The Demon Valley was a mess. Blood and bones were everywhere, telling the world that a fierce battle had taken place here. 5 Fate Palace realm masters died here, torn apart and devoured by the vicious beasts. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He knew that the Demon Valley might be more dangerous, but to avoid the Great Limit Fate Palace realm masters, he had to take the risk. Chapter 121. The desolate ancient Demon Valley was filled with the aura of immortals, and 3rd-grade spiritual herbs were everywhere. The deeper they went, the stronger the aura was. The parrot laughed wildly, pointing to the depths and said, "Haha, this is my battlefield." Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi grinned faintly. They could both sense the boundless spiritual energy and the thousands of years-old spiritual herbs here. Cultivating here was twice the result with half the effort. If there was an alchemy furnace, this place would be a paradise. Screech! The goshawk roared as if it was telling something. The parrot curled its lips and said disdainfully, "What kind of star is Stan's star? Why was this place their backyard? From today on, this place belongs to this divine bird." Stan's star? Yi Qinghan frowned slightly. 4th-grade small stars were affiliated to some 5th-grade stars. In the past, Owl War Star was surrounded by many 4th-grade small stars and became affiliated to Owl War Star. They were affiliated to the Yi family. The young disciples of the Yi family often went to the forbidden areas of these affiliated stars to practice and compete for spiritual herbs and treasures. After all, there were not many experts in the affiliated stars, so they could not use the treasures in the forbidden areas. Therefore, they were willing to use the spiritual herbs in these dangerous places in exchange for the protection of the Yi family. Owl Fall Star was actually an affiliated star of Stan's star. Stan's star was a famous and powerful star in Owl Dragon territory. It was comparable to Owl War Star in the past. There were no less than 10 5th-grade experts at the peak of Tao Master Realm. In addition to their good friends, they were only stronger than the Yi family. The young experts of Stan Clan were not something that the juniors on Owl Fall Star could compete with. Any junior who came out was at Grotto Heaven Realm. With powerful secret skills, 2 disciples could deal with a Grotto Heaven Realm expert. The Stan Clan's physical body and bloodline were extremely powerful. It was an ancient bloodline. The fist of a Grotto Heaven Realm expert was comparable to a 3rd-grade spirit weapon. Some terrifying existences could shatter a 4th-grade spirit sword with one punch. Their clan's berserk technique was famous in the Owl Dragon region. They fought without regard for their lives. Few stars dared to provoke the Stan Clan. The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up as he thought of the Star Lord of the Stan Star, Stan Khan. He was not even 600 years old, but he had already reached the great martial venerable realm. He had challenged the Owl Dragon region and won 100 battles in a row. He had shaken the Owl Dragon region, and in the end, he had arrogantly killed his way to the Owl War Star. Yi Qinghan had used his physical body to beat him up. In the end, he had even said that they would fight again in 50 years. It doesn't matter. Even if it stands back garden, we can still make use of it. Let's use the good stuff first, Yi Qinghan said lightly. That's right. There are many treasures here. The Standstar should not have sent anyone here for more than 300 years, right? Let's get all of them this year. The parrot's mouth was full of saliva. It began to devour the treasures in the universe ring, preparing to make room for the real top-grade spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Screech, the god-slaying eagle, swooped down from the sky, crossed the Demon Valley mountain range, and entered the Demon Valley continent. The vicissitudes of life and the majestic ancient aura rushed toward them, intimidating all living things and making them feel awe. The parrot was getting more and more excited. It flew over Emperor Ye's shoulder and swept toward a mountain range, squawking loudly. "Follow it." Yi Qinghan lightly motioned to the god-slaying eagle. Although the parrot was despicable, it would not do useless work. Since it was so excited to rush over, it must have found treasures. Sure enough, after passing through a forest, a valley came into view. The mountains were dotted with spirit fruits, and there was no sign of winter. The lush forest made the herbivores salivate. The red spirit fruits were full of spiritual energy, and most of them were fully ripe. The parrot kept harvesting, picking the good ones. The spirit fruits that were bigger than its body disappeared one by one, and were directly put into the universe ring. Tisk tiskitiste, these are all good stuff. All of them are 3rd grade and above, the parrot shouted excitedly. Yi Qinghan had just jumped off the back of the god-slaying eagle and stood on a mound. Looking at the mountain full of red leaf fruits, he rushed over with Emperor Yi. These red leaf forests had at least 1,000 years of history. They bloomed once every 3 years, bore fruit once every 3 years, and only ripened after 3 years. Ordinary people who ate them could strengthen their bodies, prolong their lives, and purify their bodies. Cultivators who ate them could improve their cultivation by leaps and bounds, and they could also refine 3rd-grade spirit-storing pills. When fighting with experts, having more than 10 of them was equivalent to having an extra life. The 2 of them and the bird began to pick the fruits quickly. Emperor Yi stepped on the back of the god-slaying eagle and reached out to pick the fruits. She was like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world, not going back on her words. Hiss, hiss, hiss. A few terrifying sounds alarmed Yi Qinghan. He raised his eyebrows and looked over. He saw a huge red python flood dragon outside the valley. It was about 40 to 50 meters long and was thicker than a water bucket. It stuck out its tongue and glared at Yi Qinghan and the others. However, it did not dare to approach because of the god-slaying eagle's pressure. Eagles were the nemesis of snakes. In addition, the god-slaying eagle was gifted and much stronger than ordinary eagles. Moreover, it was 4th grade. The red python flood dragon did not dare to move recklessly. Guardian spiritual beast. Yi Qinghan casually glanced at the red python flood dragon. With such a huge red leaf fruit forest, it was normal for there to be a 3rd-grade guardian spiritual beast. The snake's gallbladder could brighten the eyes. The 3rd-grade red python flood dragon might be more effective. Yi Qinghan had an idea. He stepped directly on the red python flood dragon, and the demon dragon saber in his hand emitted waves of dragon's might, pressing down on the red python flood dragon. The red python flood dragon's eyes were full of fear and shock. It kept retreating and the ground rustled. It looked terrifying. Oof, it's only 3rd grade. Yi Qinghan's foot shattered the ground. He immediately used the extreme divine dragon steps. With a slash of his saber, the saber aura cut through the ancient giant tree and collided with the red python flood dragon scales. Boom! The demon dragon saber was supported by quintessential essence and was indestructible. Its hard scales could resist the attack of a 4th-grade spiritual weapon. However, it could not withstand half of Yi Qinghan's strength. Pucci, the demon dragon saber broke through the scales and cut into the red python flood dragon's body. The red python flood dragon roared. It curled its tail and ruthlessly smashed at Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan only swayed slightly and easily dodged its attack. Bang! The red python flood dragon's despairing attack did not hit Yi Qinghan. Instead, it hit its own head. Immediately, it became a bloody mess and became dizzy. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to slash at the red python flood dragon's vital point. The demon dragon saber's sharp saber aura broke through the void and severed the red python flood dragon's neck. Pucci, A bloody light rushed into the clouds and dyed half the sky red. The entire mountain range was covered in a rain of blood. The blood that had a strong corrosive power actually started to burn under the sunlight. Water. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and sprinkled the water. Pure rainwater poured in from all directions and extinguished the raging fire in the valley. The pungent smell of blood filled the air and was nauseating. Boom, boom, boom. Although the red python flood dragon's neck had been severed, the lower half of its body was still crazily twisting. It slammed into the surrounding trees in the valley. Countless ancient trees were snapped in half and turned into fine powder that scattered with the wind. Yi Qinghan held his saber and retreated, waiting for the red python flood dragon to die completely. After half an incense stick of time, the red python flood dragon was dead. The lower half of the corpse also quieted down. Yi Qinghan quickly dismembered the red python flood dragon's head and took out a bloody demon gallbladder. It was the size of a fist. With a tremble of his finger, water filled with spirit energy appeared out of nowhere and thoroughly cleansed the gallbladder. The demon gallbladder was sparkling and translucent, filled with a sinister aura. The red python flood dragon's gallbladder was sinister, while the red leaf fruit was young. Therefore, the red leaf fruit was the best antidote for the snake's venom. The combination of the two had an indescribable effect. My son, eat this red python flood dragon's gallbladder and see if it has any benefits for your eyes. Yi Qinghan was slightly excited. He really wanted to cure Emperor Ye's eyes. Emperor Yi constantly wanted to cure his eyes. He wanted to see the beautiful mountains, rivers, sun, and moon with his own eyes. When he heard Yi Qinghan's words, he immediately commanded the god-slaying eagle to descend. He trotted over to Yi Qinghan's side. His white dress swayed in the wind, making him look like an otherworldly fairy. Open your mouth and don't move. Leave the rest to me, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The demon gallbladder was too big, and the sinister aura inside was too dense. It could easily harm Emperor Yi. Therefore, when it was crushed, it had to instantly neutralize the yang aura of the red leaf fruit for it to be effective. Yi Qinghan took out 2 red leaf fruits that were the size of a fist. He used both hands to crush the red leaf fruit and the demon gallbladder at the same time, turning them into liquid form. He used his quintessential essence to envelop them. With a sudden burst of strength, they instantly poured into Emperor Ye's body. The majestic essence flowed through his limbs and bones, bringing with it a powerful corrosive and tearing force. It caused Emperor Ye's young body to constantly twitch. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he gritted his teeth and endured it. Yi Qinghan pressed his palms on Emperor Ye's shoulders. He used his quintessential essence to slowly invade Emperor Ye's body, enveloping most of the demon gallbladder's medicinal properties. He was afraid that something would happen to Emperor Yi. If that happened, it would be too late to cry. With Yi Qinghan's help, Emperor Yi felt much more comfortable. He felt as if his eyes were soaked in warm water. It was extremely comfortable. His entire body felt warm, and he could not exert any strength. Not long after, his eyes became blurry. However, the divine Guqin imprint once again exerted its strength, sealing Emperor Ye's eyes once again. Yi Qinghan frowned. He thought to himself, how could this be? Why would the divine Guqin imprint seal Emperor Ye's eyes? Emperor Yi grinned and smiled sadly. He comforted, Master, it's okay. I'm already used to it. Actually, even if I can't see, I can feel everything. My soul and consciousness are much stronger than the average person's. Perhaps this is fairness. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched coldly. How could there be fairness in this world? It was all about fighting with one's fists. All the injustice in the world was bestowed by the strong. Don't worry. As long as you're still alive, I'll let you see the boundless mountains and rivers of this endless universe with your own eyes. Yi Qinghan's voice was slightly deep. It was hoarse and charming, giving people an incomparable sense of trust. Emperor Yi nodded solemnly. Although the demon gallbladder and the red leaf fruit did not allow her to see the light of day, they had strengthened her soul by a lot. Her sea of qi had also expanded by more than twice. You go and pick the fruit first. I'll roast this snake. The flesh of a third-grade red python dragon is very rich in qi and blood. It can condense spiritual energy and temper the body. Most importantly, it can fill your stomach. Ha! Yi Qinghan rubbed his stomach. He had not eaten a good meal for a few days. Coupled with the battle, he was already unbearably hungry. There were treasures everywhere in the Demon Valley. Spiritual herbs were everywhere. However, not many people dared to go deep. Otherwise, they would be attacked by endless monsters. Even those at the Life Palace level would die tragically if they were surrounded. Yi Qinghan took out all the important flesh of the red python dragon. He pulled out the long tendons on its back and threw the rest of the flesh to the god-slaying hawk. Chapter 122. The valley was filled with fragrance. The parrot was drooling, but its two little claws were reluctant to part with the red-leafed fruit. "Master, give me some more Qiankuan rings. I want to plunder all of them and not leave a single hair for those star brats." The parrot's two little claws were carrying a few Qiankuan rings. They were all snatched from the corpses of Tang Sheng and the others. It looked particularly funny. Yi Qinghan was speechless. This money grubber was even more money grubber than him. This mountain was full of red-leafed fruits. It could probably fill up 2 Qiankuan rings. Take it. Go early and come back early. This place is very dangerous. Powerful beasts may appear at any time. Don't cry to me if something happens. Yi Qinghan casually threw out a Qiankuan ring and began to roast meat. The fat worm in his stomach was beginning to be dissatisfied. Emperor Yi was very satisfied. After filling up a Qiankuan ring, he obediently stayed beside Yi Qinghan and leaned on his shoulder. He closed his eyes and enjoyed the gentle breeze. He relaxed his mind and let the spirit energy enter his body. Yi Qinghan smiled. There was no one else in the Yi family. He had always regarded Emperor Yi as a junior. He carefully taught and protected her. He hoped that she could one day recreate the supreme glory of the zither immortal crimson demon physique. He hoped that she could fight side by side with him, take revenge, flatten the ferocious spirit forbidden land, and suppress thousands of races. "My son, don't call me master in the future. Call me uncle. You are the only descendant of the last generation of the Yi family. I look too young now. It will be easy to attract attention if I take in a disciple. Do you understand?" Yi Qinghan whispered. "Hee, hello uncle. I also don't think it's good to call you master. Those who take in disciples are all old monsters who are hundreds of years old. They all call you old. You are only a few years older than me." Emperor Ye's heavenly smile spread with the wind. Her peach blossom face made the world lose its color. Her voice was like an aureole coming out of the valley. It was crisp and pleasant. She spoke like she was singing. Ahem. Yi Qinghan smiled. In terms of real age, he was also an old monster who was hundreds of years old. However, he couldn't explain anything to Emperor Yi. He should just followed her meaning to cover it up. "Uncle, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead. You also have a special constitution? Otherwise, how could he be so strong that he could even defeat Leisure?" "Me? You can say that. The Azure Dragon arm has been cultivated to its peak and is comparable to a dragon's claw. It can shatter the myriad Tao of the heavens and destroy everything. Defeating a half-baked devil spirit treasure body is still very simple." "Uncle, I have another question." "Ask away. Why do you have so many secret techniques? Are you really a 17-year-old boy?" "Uncle, when I was young, I accidentally entered an ancient tomb and obtained countless inheritances. That's why I have so many secret techniques and treasures. I also obtained the face-erecting pill, allowing me to live forever. You may think I'm young, but I'm actually several hundred years old." "You're lying. I can sense the growth rings of your body. Your skin tells me that you're only 17 years old." The adult and the child talked about everything. Yi Qinghan had some things that were inconvenient for him to say, so he gave a few random answers with a teasing tone. Emperor Yi could easily tell that Yi Qinghan was deliberately teasing him. He couldn't help but pout and pretend to be angry, but his heart was extremely happy. Emperor Yi felt the feeling of home. This happiness was indescribable. His small hand hugged Yi Qinghan's thick and strong arm, and he felt especially safe. staying by his side. Even if the sky collapsed, he wouldn't be hurt. The strong sense of dependence made Yi Qinghan not stop Emperor Ye's actions. Emperor Yi lacked a sense of security, which would be very detrimental to his later cultivation. Perhaps this was the only way to let Emperor Yi feel the warmth of the human world. In the future, he wouldn't walk the path of evil. Otherwise, the endless universe might turn into a bloody hell. The parrot crazily picked the spirit fruits, but the god-slaying eagles weren't interested in these fruits. These things were everywhere in the depths, and their grades might be higher. Moreover, they were carnivores, only interested in flesh. The two god-slaying eagles swallowed more than half of the red python flood dragon and returned to Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan's arms for nourishment. Their bloodlines evolved very quickly. Yi Qinghan gave the best roasted snake meat to Emperor Yi. The snake meat was fragrant and crispy, and it melted in the mouth. With a light bite, the spiritual energy was overwhelming. There was no loss at all. The temperature was just right, and Emperor Yi instantly fell in love with this taste. "You're still growing. More. It's good for your body." Yi Qinghan doted on Emperor Yi and repeatedly gave him meat. "You beast!" The parrot was furious. It didn't care about the red leaf fruit anymore. It rushed directly to the roasting rack, not caring about whether it was hot or not. It grabbed a large piece of meat and ran off. Yi Qinghan was speechless. Did parrots eat meat? This strange parrot was simply intoxicating. It didn't look like a parrot at all. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and the mist around him gathered. After washing it, he walked towards the depths of the Demon Valley continent. He was prepared to have a good experience. He wouldn't return to the Middle State continent until he reached the Grotto Heaven realm. One big and one small, Emperor Yi still sat on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, and the parrot ran to Emperor Ye's shoulder again. With firm steps, they quickly walked towards the depths. The parrot's eyes flickered. It kept pointing and shouting, "Go east, there's spirit ginseng. Go northeast. Damn, there are so many fourth-grade spirit herbs." Yi Qinghan's face was full of joy. This parrot's nose was too good at finding spirit treasures. It didn't miss once. It seemed that he had to start refining pills. As for the furnace, it could be made of stone. With his rich vital essence, it wouldn't be a problem to refine fourth-grade pills. However, fifth-grade pills were unrealistic. An unknown ferocious beast that looked incomparably ferocious, slightly larger than an ordinary tiger, galloped over from afar. Its speed was as fast as lightning, its sharp claws could split mountains and break trees, its sinister fangs, and its green eyes could steal one's soul. Swish! The ferocious beast jumped in the air and bit at Yi Qinghan. Its sharp claws tore at Emperor Yi. It was unstoppable. Yi Qinghan was as motionless as a mountain. The corners of his mouth rose, and he let it rush over. When it was about to attack him, he fiercely waved his arm. Blue veins bulged, and his momentum burst out. Boom! His fist hit the ferocious beast's throat. The ferocious beast, which weighed hundreds of pounds, was like a kite with a broken string. It only had time to let out a shrill scream before its vitality was shattered. Its skin was shattered, and blood splattered everywhere. A large area of territory was dyed red. Yi Qinghan didn't even spare him a glance as he took large strides and sped off towards the southeast. "Handsome. When I can transform and become as handsome as you, I will definitely chase after all the beautiful parrots in the world." The parrot's face was drooling with envy. Emperor Yi couldn't help but laugh. He joked, "You've already transformed. Shouldn't you find a beautiful sister? Find a parrot? Do you want to date it? What does a little brat like you know? How can we date when we are of different species?" The parrot's face wasn't red, but its neck was thick. It raised its head and roared angrily. "Humph. Then why did you transform?" Emperor Yi snorted and retorted with dissatisfaction. "Because I can act handsome like my master. I've deceived countless young girls, but they can't get my body. This divine bird is the most handsome of the parrots. My bloodline is the noblest. How can I let you little human girls take advantage of me?" The parrot arrogantly mocked. Yi Qinghan, fuck, this parrot was not only cheap, but also thick-skinned. This was simply unprecedented and would never be repeated in the future. The parrot and Emperor Ye's quarrel could alleviate the boredom of the journey. Yi Qinghan enjoyed this kind of warmth. In his previous life, he was old-fashioned like a rotten old man. He didn't know how to live and only focused on cultivation. He was careless in making friends and was betrayed by Azura, Qian Yi and the others, causing the Yi family to be uprooted overnight. Thinking of this, Yi Qinghan frowned. He suddenly thought of something that puzzled him. How did they get past Xiao Zhanxing's defenses? With so many revered martial artists approaching, it was fine if he was in seclusion. The Yi family's defenses were absolutely tyrannical. Even if they couldn't stop them, they shouldn't have waited until all the revered martial artists had attacked Xiao Zhanxing. Who was the traitor in the Yi family? The only people who knew that he had the divine martial imperial codex were his closest relatives. The only ones who could make the Yi family's defenses fail were his closest relatives. His wife, Jian Shui, his father, his brother, Yi Kuan, and his last disciple, Nangong Powu. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. These 4 people were related to him by blood. He didn't want to suspect any of them, but it had to be one of them. Yi Qinghan walked faster and faster, his breathing becoming more and more chaotic. How could it be them? Father couldn't have betrayed me, nor could he have betrayed the family and caused the Yi family to be annihilated in an instant. Jian Shui and I loved each other, we were childhood sweethearts. She never came into contact with outsiders, nor did she come into contact with Azura, Qian Yi and the others. She didn't have the chance to betray me. The more Yi Qinghan analyzed, the more chaotic his heart became. Nangong Powu was raised by him and was like his own son. He couldn't believe that Nangong Powu betrayed him and the Yi family. As for Yi Kuan, although he was young and hedonistic, he wouldn't be so foolish. Damn it! Where did the problem come from? Yi Qinghan was unwilling to give up. He racked his brains but couldn't find a clue. His Dao heart became unstable. Emperor Yi felt Yi Qinghan's restlessness and quickly asked gently, "Uncle, what's wrong?" Xian Yu's 5 fingers were soft as if they were boneless. She gently tapped the void and a wisp of heavenly sound rushed into Yi Qinghan's mind, suppressing his frantically surging soul. Yi Qinghan's divine sense trembled and his expression changed slightly. He didn't lose to his inner demons and almost died at his hands. His expression gradually returned to normal and his Dao heart became stable again. "Master, your Dao heart isn't stable enough. You can even go astray while walking." The parrot didn't know what was good for it and even provoked Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold enough to freeze heaven and earth. He glanced at the parrot coldly, almost scaring it out of its wits. "Master, my soul just soared and I suddenly found a place full of spiritual energy. It seems to be a spirit crystal mine." The parrot's body trembled and its divine sense suddenly expanded involuntarily. It found an extremely strange place where spiritual energy was gathered without dissipating. Its divine sense couldn't penetrate the mountain range. It quickly changed the topic and told Yi Qinghan the location. Spirit crystal mine? Yi Qinghan was stunned. This was a good thing. With a spirit crystal mine, he could quickly enter the grotto heaven realm. Chapter 123. Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi in the direction that the parrot had pointed out. The road was rugged and difficult to traverse in the southwest of the demonic valley. Fog and miasma filled the air, making it impossible for ordinary people to get close. It was reasonable that the spiritual crystals had been preserved until now. After all, even Life Palace powerhouses would not want to come to such a place. It's in the mountains behind the miasma. I can tell you for sure that there is a spiritual crystal mine behind the miasma and the quality is quite good. The parrot said excitedly. Yi Qinghan's consciousness slowly approached the miasma and found that it was highly corrosive. The miasma was formed by the decay of countless ferocious beasts on the ground. It had accumulated over time to form a huge miasma forest. His consciousness could not pass through the forest, so he could not determine how big the miasma forest was and whether there was a way to cross it without being poisoned. Yi Qinghan was curious. Since the parrot could find this place from such a distance, It should be able to determine how big the forest was. He could not help but ask, how far is this forest from the spiritual crystal mine? About 30 to 50 miles. It's not too far, the parrot said indifferently. You are not affected by the miasma? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. What a joke. Why don't you look at this divine bird? The parrot was about to boast, but when it met Yi Qinghan's cold gaze, it paused and said seriously, I'm a spirit-devouring divine hawk, so I'm immune to all poisons. Anything that contains spiritual energy is a tonic to me. This poisonous miasma is filled with spiritual energy, and since it's fused into one, I can rely on it to move unimpeded. What a good bird. Yi Qinghan smiled. Of course, I have the bloodline of an ancient divine bird. After 1,000 years, I'll automatically become a spirit beast of the 7th or 8th rank. In the blink of an eye, I'll be able to pierce through time and space. As soon as the parrot heard Yi Qinghan's praise, it lifted its head up proudly and began to chatter. Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the parrot in his hand. Damn, what are you doing? The parrot was shocked and roared, Stop. I'm dizzy with blood. You can't let me bleed. Yi Qinghan forcibly extracted 2 drops of essence blood from the parrot's thigh. They were full of spiritual energy and were very smooth. They were like divine medicine, shining with a golden light. He casually handed 1 drop to Emperor Yi. He didn't even look at the parrot, who was screaming miserably. He said indifferently, My son, keep it in your mouth. Close your pores and don't let the poisonous gas enter your body. Uncle, I don't think I'm afraid of the poisonous gas. It seems like the snake's gallbladder is the problem. My qi and blood don't seem to repel the poisonous gas, Emperor Yi said happily as he took the blood essence. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. The red python dragon's gallbladder had such an effect. That was great. This poisonous gas couldn't kill him. Moreover, he had the blood essence of the parrot. So, he led Emperor Yi into the depths of the forest. The parrot looked like it had lost half its life. It hummed and whined the entire way. It was very dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's rude behavior. It's just 2 drops of your essence blood. It won't kill you. Is there a need to be like this? Yi Qinghan was annoyed by the parrot's nagging. 2 drops of essence blood. You said it yourself. That's essence blood, not ordinary blood. How many spirit fruits and spirit herbs do I have to eat to make up for it? The parrot angrily asked, as if it had been greatly wronged. When we reach the Spirit Crystal Mountains, I'll allow you to find the best spirit crystal to make it up to you. Now, please shut up. But Yi Qinghan hurriedly spread his quintessential essence to protect his body. He then looked at Emperor Yi and discovered that her body was emitting a faint golden light. The poisonous gas was purified when it came close to her body. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. He valued the zither immortal crimson demon physique even more. This kind of monstrous physique would make even the heavens jealous. The poisonous miasma filled the air. The dense fog made it difficult to see one's fingers. Yi Qinghan held Emperor Yi's hand and quickly rushed into the depths of the forest. He gripped the demonic dragon's saber tightly in his hand. In an instant he could shatter any creature's attack. However, in this kind of environment, apart from these ancient trees, there were almost no other creatures. The poisonous gas was too vicious. Their journey was unobstructed. After an hour, Yi Qinghan brought Emperor Yi to a mountain range surrounded by celestial qi. The spiritual qi was so dense that it was tangible. It gathered in midair and formed a spiritual mist that didn't disperse. It set off against the desolate ancient mountain range, making it seem like a paradise. A small round lake with a radius of a few dozen meters was located in the middle of the mountain range. Green willows surrounded the round lake. The willow branches swayed in the wind, and a layer of ripples extended into the distance. Hundreds of flowers bloomed in the surroundings. Green birds flew in the air, and butterflies danced in the air. It was a magnificent scene. Oh my God, what a beautiful place. It's just like a paradise. The parrot was a divine bird that knew its stuff. It saw the spiritual fruits, spiritual trees, spiritual herbs, and spiritual creatures in the mountain range and fell in love with this place. Yi Qinghan's eyes flickered as he scanned the mountain range. He discovered that the 9 dragons circled around the mountain range. The dragons raised their heads, and they themselves were a huge spiritual gathering formation that absorbed the essence of heaven, earth, sun, and moon. It had grown independently for tens of millions of years. It was very likely that it would break through the sky and become the target of countless wealthy and noble families because this was the best place for a paradise. What a good place! Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He did not hide it. If he cultivated in such a paradise, it would be difficult for him not to enter the grotto heaven realm. There are so many spiritual crystals below. The quality is so pure. Emperor Yi used his spiritual sense to explore the bottom of the valley. He discovered that the entire lake was filled with spiritual liquid. Apart from the simple layer of rocks above, the entire valley was filled with mid-grade spiritual crystals. There were also quite a few high-grade spiritual crystals. A perfect mineral vein. If it was completely extracted, there would be at least tens of millions of mid-grade spiritual crystals. There would definitely be more than 100 high-grade spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan's spiritual sense swept through the ground. His eyes finally revealed a hint of excitement. Such a mineral vein would be coveted even by a 5th-rank clan or a powerful sect. Tens of millions of mid-grade spiritual crystals might not be much, but those 100 or more high-grade spiritual crystals would allow him to enter the grotto heaven realm and temper his body to the extreme. Don't destroy the internal structure. This place belongs to the dragon vein. In 10,000 years, it might bring this mountain range to the endless universe and absorb the essence of heaven, earth, sun, and moon. It will connect with the origin of the great Tao and become an immortal mountain. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. As it flew down, the devil dragon saber let out a soft hum. It was so loud that it was about to collapse. It was extremely excited. Yi Qinghan chose a place with the densest spiritual energy. He used the devil dragon saber to cut open the rocks above. After digging a meter deep, he could see a layer of sparkling and translucent spiritual crystals below. It was flawless and as beautiful as a piece of jewelry. It was a complete spiritual crystal. The entire ground was made up of spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and waved his saber continuously. The palm-sized mid-grade spiritual crystals were filled with spiritual energy. They absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and did not disperse. The spiritual crystals here would only become higher and higher. After digging for more than 10 meters and 7 to 8 meters deep, Yi Qinghan suddenly felt his pores open and desperately absorb spiritual energy. True Yuan involuntarily wandered around his body, as if it was soaking in divine medicine. The azure dragon arm burst out with golden light and blue veins popped out. It crazily absorbed spiritual energy, causing his entire body to shine with a golden light. High-grade spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan smiled. He did not expect to find a high-grade spiritual crystal after digging for only 7 to 8 meters. It seemed that there were quite a lot of high-grade spiritual crystals underground. The parrot's eyes flickered. It lay on the ground and stared at Yi Qinghan. It was drooling over the high-grade spiritual crystals. Parrot, I let you choose a high-grade spiritual crystal first. Don't say I cheated. Yi Qinghan waved his devil dragon saber and cut open the top layer of the mid-grade spiritual crystal, revealing a basin-sized spiritual crystal. It radiated a divine aura, as if it had a soul. As long as one approached it, one would feel as if one's soul was about to be sublimated. One's body did not even need to actively absorb spiritual energy. The parrot's eyes revealed a trace of hesitation. Its eyes flickered and it said with a sinister smile, "Master, this is for you. I'll wait a little longer." Yi Qinghan was astonished. Did the sun rise from the west? The parrot saw a high-grade spiritual crystal and actually rejected it. The parrot secretly said to itself, "I feel that there are better ones below. If I take this one now, I will definitely not have a share of the rest." Yi Qinghan did not care. This high-grade spiritual crystal was too useful to him. Since the parrot did not want it, he did not hesitate to put it into his yin and yang ring. Looking at the mid-grade spiritual crystals all around him, Yi Qinghan's palms were sweaty. He desperately used his devil dragon saber to cut the spiritual crystals one after another into his yin and yang ring. He did not find it troublesome at all. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 30,000. The parrot's mouth watered as it looked at Yi Qinghan. However, it resisted the urge to choose a spirit crystal. Even when Yi Qinghan picked up a complete high-grade spirit crystal that was larger than a wash basin, it didn't waver. Yi Qinghan was at the bottom of the spiritual crystal vein. He had been excavating for at least 6 hours, but he did not feel tired at all. Instead, he felt more relaxed and comfortable. His true essence surged, rolling through his entire body. His meridians, blood vessels, and flesh were refined to perfection, tenacity, and strength. The azure dragon arm greedily absorbed the rich essence, becoming sparkling and translucent. The imprint on his arm almost became real, vivid, and lifelike. Gulp. The parrot swallowed a mouthful of saliva and became increasingly excited. It felt that even better treasures were about to appear. Hurry up and dig. I feel like that stone has been waiting for me for tens of thousands of years. It has crossed countless years just to meet me at this moment. The parrot unexpectedly said a very artistic sentence and directly rushed into the depths. Yi Qinghan was not stupid. The parrot's expression clearly indicated that there was something good below. He could not help but stop and stare at the parrot. The corners of his mouth rose, revealing a devilish smile. He asked in a serious voice, "Do you know what is below?" "I don't know. I definitely don't know. Master, please believe me." The parrot smiled and moved its butt back. "Is that so?" Yi Qinghan held the devil dragon saber tightly and said disdainfully, "Since you don't know, then I want all the spiritual crystals within 30 meters, no matter their grade. I will let you choose one more. How about it?" "No. Master, you can't go back on your word. You said you would let me choose first. You can't burn the bridge after crossing the river." The parrot argued, unwilling to give up. "Then tell me what is below." Yi Qinghan's heartbeat quickened as he stared at the spiritual crystals below. He had a feeling that something terrifying was about to come out of the earth. It was likely something that had crossed countless years and experienced the desolate era. Chapter 124. The vicissitudes of the mountain range revealed the rings of history. The ancient aura covered the sky and covered the earth. It was majestic and imposing, suppressing the heavens. Inside this paradise that was rich in spiritual energy, the ancient giant trees were lush and verdant. The flowers were red and green, and the spiritual fruits adorned the place. It was extremely beautiful. The spiritual birds were intelligent, and they were more intelligent than the 3rd and 4th grade demonic beasts. They would occasionally circle around Emperor Yi. The bold little birds even directly landed on Emperor Yi's shoulders without the slightest bit of fear. Yi Qinghan gazed at the spirit crystals beneath his feet. He was mining them carefully for fear of damaging the treasures below. The sparkling and translucent spirit crystals were flowing with light. They were even more beautiful and captivating under the sunlight. It was like a glazed crystal palace. The spiritual energy was so dense that it was almost liquid. The parrot's eyes flashed as it shouted, "Be careful! Don't damage my treasures!" Yi Qinghan was also very nervous. His breathing was hurried. Every cut was of uncanny workmanship. It was perfect and flawless. The sweat in his palms quickly flowed down along the demon dragon saber. Emperor Yi went into the vein, and Yi Qinghan worked hard as the excavator. She followed behind and collected the spirit crystals. Her strange eyes flickered with a different light as she whispered, "Uncle, there is a different stone about 1 meter to the left. There is something inside the stone. There is also life stirring." Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. There was something inside the stone. It was actually a living thing. Could it be that they had dug up a sealed evil spirit? "You guys leave this place?" Yi Qinghan was incomparably cautious as he said in a deep voice. Emperor Yi lifted his skirt and left the vein. However, the parrot was unwilling to leave. It only ran to the edge and stared at Yi Qinghan's feet. Yi Qinghan drew a square where Emperor Yi pointed. It was 3 meters wide and 5 meters deep. He was afraid that if he destroyed the stone, it would alarm the creatures inside. After digging out this huge spirit crystal, Yi Qinghan directly carried it up and carefully polished the spirit crystal on the outside. The spirit crystal turned into powder and fluttered in the wind. However, it was forcefully pulled by Yi Qinghan's body and turned into spiritual energy that rushed into his body. Not a single bit was wasted. The cube of spirit crystal was getting smaller and smaller. Yi Qinghan's speed was also getting slower and slower. His heartbeat quickened as though he had been struck by lightning. An hour later, a dark stone appeared within the spirit crystal. It was filled with the laws of the great Tao, and the origin flowed within. It emitted a terrifying vibration that could crush one's Tao heart. An ancient aura surged forth and forced Yi Qinghan to take several steps back. Yi Qinghan's expression changed greatly. He was alarmed. This was only the tip of the iceberg. It could actually shake him. What the hell was inside? Parrot, are you sure this stone traveled through countless years just to meet you at this moment? Yi Qinghan was not sure what was sealed within this stone. However, it was definitely an ancient monster. Once it was born, it could probably slaughter the entire Owl Falls star. I'm not sure. Why is this thing different from what I imagined? The parrot was speechless. It retreated again and again, not daring to approach. You don't want it? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked. Cough, cough. I don't want this stone. I'll give it to you. Any high-grade spirit crystal will do. The parrot laughed embarrassedly. It did not even dare to approach the stone. Did it want to die? Yi Qinghan casually tossed out a high-grade spirit crystal and walked towards the stone with his saber in hand. There was only 1 meter of stone left. After polishing all of the spirit crystals, there would be less than 1 cubic meter of stone left. Yi Qinghan did not know what kind of thing this stone could seal, and he still could not tell what it was made of. However, the stone that was temporarily exposed was filled with the laws of the Great Tao. The ancient sealing method had long been lost. There were no records in the Divine Martial Emperor Codex. This showed the history of this stone. Yi Qinghan continued polishing the stone. He became more and more cautious. More and more of the dark stone was exposed. It was even more breathtaking. It was like an ancient monster that wanted to destroy everything in the universe. After polishing for an entire day, a dark stone that was slightly bigger than a wash basin was revealed. It looked like a black diamond. The sealing formation on it shone brightly and a strong pressure spread out. It was like a living creature that was about to awaken and rule the endless universe. From the outside, the stone did not move at all. However, the creature inside was moving, trying to stretch its body. Yi Qinghan could clearly feel the stone shaking. It was extremely terrifying. This sealed monster had absorbed the essence of spiritual energy for countless years. It was definitely an existence that was comparable to a divine medicine. Its body was even made of a top-grade spirit crystal. Even a 5th-grade combat weapon could not break through it. The thing inside is sleeping, but I can't see what it is. However, it is gradually awakening. The seal on the outside might not be able to hold it for more than a few years, Emperor Yi said in a serious tone. Yes, we can't leave it here. Even if it wants to awaken, it must do so in front of me. Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. Swoosh. With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan stored the stone in a yin and yang ring filled with spirit crystals. He hoped that it could be sealed for a few more years, at least until he recovered to his peak state. After putting away the sealing stone, Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and started mining again. With such a good spirit crystal mine, it was best to excavate it as soon as possible. Only when it was in his hands would it be his. Just like that, Yi Qinghan continued to excavate for an entire month. He had excavated a total of 10 million mid-grade spirit crystals and collected 120 high-grade spirit crystals. The surroundings of the circular lake had been emptied. The spirit liquid in the depths of the lake surged upwards and became the best spirit medicine. Come down and soak in it. The spirit liquid here can cleanse the marrow and bones, refine the body, and change the physique of a person. Yi Qinghan was extremely happy. He did not expect that there would be such a good thing below. Yi Qinghan took out a jar with a large internal space and filled it with a few hundred kilograms of spirit liquid. Then he took off his clothes and jumped into the spirit liquid pit. He allowed the spirit energy to rush into his body without restraint and flow through his limbs and bones. His body trembled with golden light as if he had a divine body. Divine light flowed and the azure dragon arm almost transformed into a true dragon. It spread its wings and flew away. Even the demon dragon saber automatically inserted itself into the deep pit and frantically absorbed the liquid spirit energy within the spirit liquid. The spirit liquid surged and there seemed to be a creature swimming at the bottom, moving the spirit liquid along. Yi Qinghan was like a bottomless pit as he absorbed the spirit liquid with all his might. The waste water was expelled and his entire body was wrapped in endless spirit energy. His blood was boiling and roaring as his body turned into a divine medicine. It was a mouth-watering sight. The parrot drank the spirit liquid with all its might. It was even crazier and automatically filtered the spirit liquid without swallowing a single drop of waste water. Its body quickly became fat and big. In the end, it floated on top of the spirit liquid, unable to move. It took a long time for the liquid to be completely digested, allowing every inch of its skin to be filled with liveliness. Emperor Yi could feel that Yi Qinghan was cultivating with his eyes closed. His face was slightly red as he took off his clothes and walked into the spirit liquid, leaving only his underwear. His sparkling and translucent skin was adhered to by spirit energy. His skin was as fair as snow and looked as if it could be broken by the wind. It was a pity that his body was too thin and weak. He didn't look like a 13-year-old child, but more like a stunted child. Emperor Yi submerged his body into the spirit liquid and allowed the spirit liquid to transform his body. It washed away the impurities and left behind the essence. His body was changing rapidly. The essence that he had lost back then was now completely replenished in one go. He could even clearly feel the changes in his body. Some parts of his body were numb and his bones felt like they were being reborn. 3 whirlpools formed in the huge pit. The demon dragon blade wasn't inferior to Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's absorption speed at all. Demonic light flowed on the blade's back as if a divine weapon had descended. Emperor Yi caught up from behind. The speed at which he absorbed the spirit liquid almost surpassed Yi Qinghan's. The little sunny egg on his chest and chest were slowly expanding. His black hair was becoming longer and longer, like ink, as it wrapped around the spirit liquid. His face was becoming more and more pure to the point that no one was willing to blaspheme it. Even a shallow glance would be a sin. His slender and delicate legs were sparkling and translucent. They were clearly visible from the surface of the water. They were growing at a speed that was almost visible to the naked eye. His muscles were becoming livelier and more perfect. Emperor Yi groaned softly. It turned into a heavenly sound that was comparable to the most beautiful zither music. The parrot watched as the spirit liquid quickly turned into waste. Its body's capacity was extremely small and could no longer absorb any more spirit energy. It couldn't help but go crazy. Damn it! Why doesn't this divine bird have a strong body? The heavens are really unfair. The parrot was incomparably angry. It directly grabbed the spirit crystal and gnawed on it. Its sharp beak shattered the spirit crystal. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi weren't willing to waste such a good opportunity. They desperately absorbed the spirit liquid and transformed their bodies. The two of them had turned into ancient divine medicine. A drop of spirit blood could revive the dead and regrow flesh and bones. The spirit liquid below was flowing slower and slower. Yi Qinghan's absorption speed could also be reduced. The demon dragon blade had already stopped absorbing energy. It was like a sleeping azure dragon. Once it awoke, it could shatter the heavens, step into the endless universe, and make all living things submit to it. Emperor Ye's transformation was the greatest. His body was at least 30 centimeters taller. He was about 1.65 meters tall. His hair was as black as ink, and his skin was as white as snow. It was sparkling and translucent. A faint smile appeared on his fairy-like face, as if it was about to melt a glacier. When Renhuang Yi saw that the spiritual liquid had completely dissipated, he sensed the majestic and boundless power within his body. He had an inexhaustible supply of energy. His cultivation level and comprehension of secret techniques had improved tremendously. Then he nodded slightly. Yi Qinghan's voice was deep and hoarse. Without opening his eyes, he reminded Yi Qinghan softly, "Put on clothes. You've made up for all the losses you've suffered over the years. Your talent is terrifying beyond compare, and your physical body is also superior. Cultivate well." The parrot glanced at Emperor Yi and muttered, "Demon, demon. One day, I'll find a prettier parrot than you." The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up as he slowly stood up. Wearing a purple robe, he had a graceful bearing and there was not a trace of impurities in his body. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th star of the bitter sea, and his eyes were like an endless sea of bitterness. Once one fell into them, they would be completely lost. His black hair fluttered without wind. He stepped into the sky and stood proudly against the wind. His realm was illusory. Even if there was an expert at the peak of the Fate Palace realm, they might not be able to see through his current realm. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. His 10 fingers reached for the sky, as if he wanted to grasp the heavens. His iron arms clenched and blue veins popped out. Divine light shone brightly as he rushed into the sky. The demon dragon blade rose from the ground and flew into Yi Qinghan's hand. It was incomparably overbearing, and its demonic aura soared into the sky. With a blade in hand, the world would rise and fall. When the long blade attacked, who could compete with it? Chapter 125. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his aura was monstrous. Even the god of war could not compare to him. Yi Qinghan put away the demon dragon saber and sat cross-legged on the ground. He consolidated his realm and completely stabilized at the 8 stars of the bitter sea realm. The vital essence in his sea of qi was almost full. The bitter sea was boundless, and the waves were thousands of miles long. On the other side of the bitter sea, chaotic lightning roared, the origin was rampant, and the laws were reborn. Emperor Yi gently stroked the divine zither, as if he was a goddess. With him here, this place had become a unique paradise. The melodious sound of the zither pierced through the ages, attracting countless birds and butterflies. From the depths, 2 powerful third-grade beasts walked out. At this moment, they were extremely docile, sitting at the side and listening to the sweet sounds of nature. The 2 god-slaying eagles that were hiding in his body to nourish their bloodline were now drawn out. They stared at Emperor Yi as if they were drunk. After this period of nourishment and today's nourishment, the 2 god-slaying eagles had become stronger. Their bloodline was pure, and there were even signs of atavism. Half a day later, Yi Qinghan broke through the 9 stars of the bitter sea. His vital essence was surging and invincible. Any bottleneck was instantly shattered. His soul covered a radius of 100 miles, collecting all things in the world into his sea of consciousness. The patterns of the Great Way were clearly visible. The origin of water wrapped around his body, turning into a 1,000-mile water dragon that circled the 9 heavens. When it raised its head, it shook the firmament. The profound meaning of water was fully revealed. The peak of the minor accomplishment made this place full of vitality. It was as if a miracle had reappeared. Boom, 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 Yi Qinghan's aura erupted. His vital essence was like a torrential river, flowing endlessly. His veins were expanded and almost collapsed. His divine body shone brightly as he broke through the 9 stars of the bitter sea. His every movement was accompanied by the laws, and he had an imposing appearance. The 9 stars of the bitter sea was only half a step away from the Grotto Heaven realm. Even the first step into the Grotto Heaven realm would increase his battle strength by more than 10 times. Others could not fly for a long time, but it did not mean that he could not. His vital essence was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than others in terms of both quality and quantity. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and felt that he had some ability to protect himself. He nodded in satisfaction and looked at the god-slaying eagles. He felt that it was time for them to evolve to the 5th rank. With their potential, even with the shape-shifting technique and the nourishment of his blood, They would not be able to achieve anything without 3 to 5 years. Come, I'll teach you the polymorph technique. Your bloodline has been nourished well these days. It's time for you to cultivate. Whether or not you can reach the 5th rank will depend on your luck, Yi Qinghan said calmly. When the god-slaying eagle heard this, it was instantly overjoyed. It hummed softly and circled Yi Qinghan at a low altitude a few times before obediently staying at Yi Qinghan's feet. It was extremely docile and did not have the might of the god-slaying eagle that was known as the overlord of the sky. This is the difference between the human clan and the 10,000 races. Of course, there are some races with high-level bloodlines that can cultivate, but there are very few of them. They are all the top races of the 10,000 races. They are the overlords of the universe. Any one of them can stir up a territory. The human clan has an advantage, so it is envied by the heavens and the 10,000 races. From the Antiquity Age to the Eternity Age, it extended to the Antiquity Age and even to the present age. The human clan is constantly suppressed by the 10,000 races. The tribulations that the human clan has to go through are also much stronger than the demon clan. As a result, there are not many experts among the human clan. Therefore, your shape-shifting tribulation will be very terrifying. It is very likely that you will be blasted to death. However, once the evolution is completed, your combat power will increase by more than 1,000 times. The difference between the heaven and the earth is like heaven and earth, Yi Qinghan reminded with assurance. The god-slaying eagle nodded desperately. It could not wait to shapeshift now and go through the 5th tribulations, even if it would perish. I am warning you in advance. If you succeed in shapeshifting and break off the contract with me, I will chase you to the ends of the earth and suppress you in the eternal ocean, never to be reincarnated. Yi Qinghan's aura was icy cold. His might shrouded the god-slaying eagle as if a real 5th-level expert had descended. The god-slaying eagle did not dare to move. The god-slaying eagle was terrified. At this moment, it regarded Yi Qinghan as its real master. It did not dare to show any disrespect and nodded repeatedly. Yi Qinghan looked at the 2 god-slaying eagles' performance and could not help but feel satisfied. He nodded and said seriously, "Raise your heads and relax. Don't resist my soul. I will pass the memory of the shape-shifting skill to you." The shape-shifting skill seemed to be a secret skill of little value. However, to demonic beasts, it was a ladder to the 9th heaven. Without the shape-shifting skill, it was almost impossible to achieve great things. The god-slaying eagles tried their best to relax and did not dare to resist. Yi Qinghan pressed both hands on the god-slaying eagle's head and transferred the memory of his consciousness into the god-slaying eagle's mind. It was difficult to understand and made them complain continuously. If there is anything you don't understand, ask the divine bird. It will teach you how to cultivate the shape-shifting skill, Yi Qinghan said lightly. The parrot grinned and mocked, "Eagle, I am the god of all beasts. Why don't you come and worship me? If you dare to be disrespectful, I will bestow upon you a lifetime of 4th level. You can forget about ever comprehending the shape-shifting skill." The god-slaying eagle's dark face twitched. It looked at Yi Qinghan pitifully. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said helplessly, "I have no choice. I don't have time to teach you. Even if I had time, the communication between us would be extremely complicated. If you want to comprehend the shape-shifting skill, you'd better lower your heads. The bloodline of the divine bird is very advanced. It is more than enough to teach you." "That's right. You let me, the king of all beasts, teach you, and you still dare to do this. Even if you beg me in the future, I will not bother with you." The parrot threatened arrogantly. The god-slaying eagle, Yi Qinghan, did not have time to accompany them. He turned and entered the mountain range again, ready to extract all the remaining spirit crystals. "From today onwards, I am the eldest. You are the 2nd and 3rd. You must remember that if there are benefits, don't forget about your eldest brother. If there is danger, you must stand at the front and not let your eldest brother be threatened. Otherwise, how can you comprehend the shape-shifting skill in the future?" The parrot raised its head and puffed out its chest. Its wings were inserted into its thighs. It was like a powerhouse that looked down on all living beings and reprimanded its juniors. However, its body was too small. In front of the god-slaying eagle, it was like a tiny dot that could be ignored. It looked very comical. Emperor Yi burst into laughter. The music stopped. The ferocious beasts outside were unwilling to retreat. They bowed to Emperor Yi and retreated respectfully. The green bird took the air and hundreds of butterflies flew away. The valley became quiet. Emperor Yi stood up slowly. The glazed skirt was a little short and could only cover half of her thigh. Her long and slender legs were exposed. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She looked like a goddess that had walked out of a comic book. Divine bird, can you not be so funny? Emperor Yi mocked with a faint smile. This divine bird is naturally intelligent and can see through the origin of all things. Just like you were so small and flat back then. Even when you wore men's clothes, Master didn't even notice that you were a little girl. Didn't this divine bird see through you with one glance? Are you still not convinced? The parrot snorted and retorted with dissatisfaction. At that time, I was too embarrassed to argue with you. What are you being so arrogant for? Isn't it just that your soul is a little stronger and you can speak human language? What's so great about that? Emperor Yi curled his lips and said, One day you will understand the strength of this divine bird. I will not argue with a child like you. The man and the bird quarreled endlessly, but neither of them took it seriously. Perhaps the valley was too boring. Quarreling with each other added a lot of fun. After staying in the valley for another half a month, Yi Qinghan tirelessly excavated spiritual crystals. With the strength of one person, he had excavated 15 million middle-grade spiritual crystals and 200 upper-grade spiritual crystals the size of wash basins. They were priceless. At this moment, at the front of the Demon Valley, a huge cloud-piercing boat appeared. At least 100 disciples walked out from it. The lowest cultivation was at the 9th star of the Bitter Sea realm, and the highest was at the 4th step of the Grotto Heaven realm. Everyone's body was extremely tyrannical. Light flowed around them and their blood was vigorous. They were definitely the best of the younger generation. Following the young man was a powerful old man of the Tao Master realm. His cultivation was at the early stage of the Tao Master realm. His aura was restrained and the will in his eyes caused the surrounding air to stagnate. Next to the old man stood a young expert of the 1st step of the Fate Palace realm. His invincible aura swept across the sky and shocked all living things. He was 2 meters tall and had a very strong ancient bloodline. The experiencers of the Stand Star. They did not expect to arrive at this moment. However, they seemed to have arrived a little late, as Yi Qinghan and the parrot were already in front of them. The real treasures had all been plundered, and the remaining items were all trash. Even the parrot didn't care about the items, let alone these people. Although the Owl Fall Star is small, it has not been stepped on for hundreds of years. There will be many good things. How much you can get depends on your luck. If you want to enter the Stand family, it will depend on you. The Supreme Battle King tournament will begin in a few years. If you want to participate, you must be qualified as a direct descendant of the Stand family. Otherwise, how can you participate in the Supreme Battle King tournament? The old man looked down at the young disciples and said in a low voice, There were many side branches of the Stand family. Not everyone could join the Stand family. If one wanted to join the Stand family, one must be a king among men, an invincible king who had never lost a battle. The side branches of the Stand family all regarded joining the Stand family as an honor. If one of them joined the Stand family, the whole side branch would rise and the resources they received would be doubled. Stan Yunshin, this time you will lead the team and train for a year. I will visit some families in the Owl Fall Star and collect offerings. If you encounter any danger that you cannot resist, remember to send a distress signal. I will arrive in half an hour at most, the old man said in a low voice as he looked at the young king beside him. Stan Yunshin raised the corner of his mouth and sneered arrogantly. The creatures here can't hurt me. Don't worry, third uncle. In a year, I will definitely step into the 2nd step of the Fate Palace and receive the call of the Stan family. I will become a direct descendant of the Stan family. The old man seemed to have a lot of trust in Stan Yunshin. He nodded and waved his hand to take the cloud-piercing ship. His figure flashed and disappeared from the Demon Valley. Stan Yunshin led the disciples through the desolate ancient forest and entered the Demon Valley continent. He found that the spiritual qi in the surroundings was indeed good. However, compared to the blessed lands and grotto heavens back at home, the difference was huge. There were many spiritual herbs around, but none of them were above the 3rd grade. Stan Yunshin frowned and said in a cold voice, "Let's go deeper. What kind of rubbish is this? A place that hasn't descended for 300 years is like this? The Owl Fall Star is too rubbish." What they didn't know was that there was nothing good in front of them. The parrot was right in front of them. Anything above the 3rd grade was taken away by it. Chapter 126. Stan Yunshin led hundreds of young experts with an imposing aura, causing all the beasts in his path to flee. His ancient blood and qi aura spread out in all directions, intimidating everyone within 1,000 miles. After traveling for more than 300 miles, Stan Yunshin's expression became more and more unsightly. How could there not be a single grade 3 spirit herb in this place that had been abandoned for hundreds of years? Why wasn't there even a single powerful beast? Big Brother Yunshin, I noticed that someone was here not long ago. Someone beat us to it. A young expert rushed to Stan Yunshin's side and said, "What? Damn it. This is the backyard of my Stan clan. Who dares to beat us to it?" Stan Yunshin was furious. His aura erupted as he shouted coldly, "Follow me into the depths. I want to see who is so bold as to compete with my Stan clan for treasures." Boom. Nearly 100 people gathered from all directions with Stan Yunshin in the lead as they rushed into the depths. Their imposing aura stirred up the clouds and the moon. After traveling for more than 300 miles, Yi Qinghan had dug out all the spirit crystals. However, he did not destroy the foundation of this place. After a few years, it would become a huge vein. After spending 2 months here, Yi Qinghan was prepared to go deeper and look for treasures. The berserker was broken, so he had to find a better material to create a true berserker. "Let's go." Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi and the parrot into the depths. Ahead of them was the true Demon Valley continent. Countless demons lived there, including tigers, wolves, bears, pythons, foxes, and other unknown creatures. Each of them was incomparably powerful. In front of them was an endless forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. However, there were not many mountain ranges. It was a flat continent that had countless shrubs and forests because there were no humans. It was a paradise for demons. The spiritual qi was overwhelming. Emperor Yi danced gracefully, attracting countless spiritual butterflies. The beast growled as it looked at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan from afar. Its eyes were filled with hostility and goodwill. Clearly, the goodwill was directed at Emperor Yi, but the hostility was directed at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan wielded the demon dragon saber that was almost 8 feet long. His demonic aura was oppressive, intimidating the ferocious beasts. Many ferocious beasts appeared in the surroundings, but none of them dared to approach. Haha, if those guys from the Stan Star come here and find out that we have taken all the treasures, will they kill us? The parrot said with a smug look. Yi Qinghan mocked, "They will catch you, tie you to the grill and burn you alive." Before Yi Qinghan could finish his sentence, his expression changed slightly. He turned back to look at the void and frowned. He hurriedly said, "Fuck, you should just change your name to Crow." What a jinx! The two rushed towards the Demon Valley continent and instantly disappeared into the forest. They concealed their auras and hid in the mountains. Looking at Stan Yunshin in the sky, they realized that there was a large number of experts following closely behind. They immediately understood the other party's identity. "Fuck, I was just saying. Why are they really here?" The parrot was speechless. "Fuck, even a crow's mouth is not as good as my own mouth." The leader of the Stan Star's trainees is Stan Yunshin. He's one of the best of the younger generation. I reckon that they will find us soon. Cooperate well later. There are still some people behind them. Don't get into a conflict with them. There are so many of them that they can eat us alive, Yi Qinghan reminded them. The parrot was scared out of its wits. It did not dare to be arrogant with these people. The young experts of the Stan clan were not the same as those on Owlfall Planet. Any one of them could be one of the top 5 young experts on Owlfall Planet. If they were besieged by more than 100 people, they would be able to kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi even without Stan Yunshin making a move. My son, even if I start fighting with them later, don't reveal the divine zither. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice. Emperor Yi concealed his aura and nodded slightly. Stan Yunshin's face sank. He glanced at the wilderness and frowned. He muttered to himself, "My origin tracing technique is ineffective. Their auras are gone." Before Yi Qinghan and Renhuang Yi came here, they didn't expect that the people of Stan Planet would be so coincidental. Stan Yunshin was able to follow them here by relying on the remnants of the origin energy. It was obvious that his cultivation was extraordinary. Humph, they must have found out that I was looking for them, so they deliberately concealed their aura. They shouldn't have run far. Stan Yunshin's eyes were like torches as he scanned the surroundings. He noticed that there weren't many mountain ranges in this area. There was only one mountain 3 to 5 miles away. The other places couldn't hide. He sneered and stepped on the mountain peak, overlooking the small mountain range. His divine sense swept past Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, who were hiding in a cave, but he did not find them. He only found the parrot, which made it tremble and almost fall down. It was just a bird, so Stan Yunshin did not care. Damn, so powerful. He is even more powerful than Tang Sheng and the others. The parrot said, trembling. Humph, this is not his strongest point. You will know when he fights. His combat power is not something that Owlfall Planet can compare with. Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice coldly. Stan Yunshin glanced around. His aura became colder and colder. He shouted coldly, "Come out. This place is not big. Do you think you can hide from me?" Yi Qinghan frowned. Indeed, there were too many people of the Stan Star. If they worked together to check this mountain carefully, no matter how strong he was, he would not be able to hide from them. You stay here. I will go out and find out his purpose. After transmitting his voice, Yi Qinghan quietly went out of the cave and appeared in another place. When he looked up, he found that Stan Yunshin had locked onto him. As they looked at each other, Yunshin's eyes lit up in surprise. He didn't expect that this young man, who seemed to be in his teens, would be able to avoid the detection of his soul consciousness. Who are you? Why are you in the Demon Valley continent? Stan Yunshin frowned and asked. Yi Qinghan pretended to be afraid. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Senior. I am Ing Feng, a native of the Owlfall Planet. Senior should be from the famous Stan Star of the Owlfall territory, right? Good, you are smart. You know about the Stan Star." Stan Yunshin snorted and asked, "Where were you just now? Why couldn't I find you?" "I am a 3rd-grade assassin of the blood evil. I practice the invisibility art. So, it is difficult for others to find me as long as I don't let myself be found." Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said, "Invisibility art, a 3rd-grade secret technique. You are quite talented to be able to practice it to this level." Stan Yunshin nodded. He did not put Yi Qinghan in his eyes. After all, anyone with a little talent could reach the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea at such a young age. "Let me ask you, why are you in the Demon Valley continent? Don't you know that this is the forbidden area of the Owlfall Planet?" Stan Yunshin asked coldly. "Senior, there was a beast tide a few days ago, and some experts attacked this place. My niece and I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to obtain some demon cores, so we secretly followed them. However, the human experts retreated halfway. For the sake of our safety, we had no choice but to carefully hide." Yi Qinghan bowed and said, "Wait, there is no trace of a battle behind us. How dare you lie to me?" Stan Yunshin's breath turned cold as he fixed his gaze on Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan pretended to tremble and bowed. The demon beasts lured the enemy in. The Fate Palace Realm seniors saw through it and did not chase after them. They took more than 10 Grotto Heaven Realm experts and plundered some treasures in the periphery. There was no battle. Please investigate. Stan Yunshin was furious at the mention of the treasures being plundered. All the spiritual herbs within a radius of 300 miles had been plundered. Apart from Fate Palace realm experts, no one in the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea could do such a thing. He immediately believed Yi Qinghan's words. Damn bastards! When this training is over, I will settle accounts with them. Stan Yunshin shouted coldly. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and smiled. As long as he could deceive him now, once he left the Demon Valley, even if he was discovered, he would go find trouble with Ying Feng, not Yi Qinghan. Not to mention, once he left the Demon Valley, Yi Qinghan would reach the Grotto Heaven realm. Even if he couldn't kill them, he could at least escape. Stan Yunshin looked at Yi Qinghan coldly and scolded disdainfully, "How dare you come to the Demon Valley continent with your strength and a child? You are courting death. Get out now. Don't you know that this is the backyard of the Stan Star?" "Yes, I will leave now." Yi Qinghan bowed and cupped his fists. He then turned and walked out. Stan Yunshin stared at Yi Qinghan's back for a while. He did not find anything special about him, so he stopped paying attention to him. Yi Qinghan sneered. He could predict Stan Yunshin's attitude. He was just like Khan Stan, who thought that God was number 1 and he was number 2. He did not care about those of the same level, let alone those of a lower level. Now was not the time to start a conflict with Stan Yunshin. He would endure it if he could. Enduring it for a while was a victory for a lifetime. If he could not endure it now, whether he could escape or not was another matter. Soon, more than 100 disciples rushed over from behind. Each of them was arrogant and looked at Yi Qinghan with contempt. However, since Yi Qinghan had already defeated Stan Yunshin, they did not bother to kill him. However, some of them were not willing to let Yi Qinghan off so easily. This is the forbidden area of the Si-Tan clan. You must have obtained a lot of treasures after coming in. Hand over the universal mirror. The 2 first-step Grotto Heaven experts blocked Yi Qinghan's path and said coldly. Stan Yunshin glanced at them but did not stop them. After all, this was the private property of the Stan clan. It would be good enough if they could spare Yi Qinghan's life. You want to leave with the universal ring? Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect that these juniors would be so reckless as to set their eyes on his universal ring. Each of his 3 universal rings contained nearly 10 million mid-grade spirit crystals and 200 high-grade spirit crystals. The last one contained a stone that sealed an ancient evil spirit. Once it was released, not only these juniors, but the entire Stan clan would be wiped out. Obviously, he could not give them the 3 universal rings. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and said, "Seniors, these are my belongings for several years. They are worth several spirit crystals. Please be magnanimous." Several spirit crystals? Low grade? How dare these bumpkins come to the Demon Valley continent? Everyone laughed crazily. How could they not laugh at the fact that the young disciples of Stan's branch could get a subsidy of 1,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals every year? Who would care about a few spirit crystals? Let me explain. It means paying to read the book. This thing is very important to us authors. If you like this book, please support paying to read it. It's so cheap, but it can change my fate. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.